players are making their way back out. Joe Root and Zach Crawley with a big job ahead of them to make up this deficit, and stands at 67 thus far. England having lost both Burns and Sibley in the half hour they had to bat in the lead up to tea. So it's tough going out there. But it's a sunny evening here at Edgbaston. It's ripe for the crowd who want to see some runs flowing. For the New Zealanders, well, they'll get pumped up if there's a few more wickets that fall tonight. At the end of the day, we'll have a much better idea of the way this match is heading. But it's for England to do the work coming from behind thus far. Michael Vaughan is getting into the seats beside me for the start of this evening session. Andy Zaltzman is lining up his fluorescent coloured pens again. A little bit disorganised there, Andy. I was hoping they'd be sort of lined up in rainbow order, but he's getting settled. Michael, Aggers in a moment. Good evening to you. How do you see this session shaping up?
Well, it needs to be a good one from an England perspective, because Matt Henry and Trent Boult have got it moving around a bit. Not easy. And there's Zach Crawley. He started nicely. He plays on the back foot that first delivery. He's got himself to 10 off 18. He's played a couple of nice drives. Now, can he start again after tea? The problem I have is that the England team have just asked the England captain again to come out at 17 for 2. It's just been a consistent story with the Test match team. I just don't think they're creating the foundation well enough.
In comes Henry then, bowls outside the off stump, and Crawley lines it up, allows it to go by, and it's taken by the wicket-keeper, and England under real pressure here. 18 for 2, the conditions look wonderful, I must say. There's some scattered cloud around, but a blue sky otherwise, the sun beating down, crowd on good form, the pitch looks still quite trustworthy, but the situation is they've got this deficit they've got to chalk off yet. So a lot of play left today. Full 2.5 hours, and New Zealand looks so sharp at the slip cordon. You compare that to England's,
and they're close, aren't they? Look how close they are.
Yeah, 2 really good catches so far they've taken. And Henry from the city end moves in, bowls to Crawley, who plays, it goes straight through the keeper. Might have kept rather low. Blundell couldn't stop that, and that's gone through for 4 byes. If that has shot along the ground from that length, and that might be a bit of an issue. It wasn't straight, and Crawley and Root are having a word there, but did keep low. Bounce that horrible second bounce in front of the keeper.
Yeah, not easy for the keeper. Yeah, I think that's the glimmer for England, is if they can bat well, and a lot better than they have done already, can get 160, 200 in front, well, they could be in the game.
Henry again moves in, bowls to Crawley, works into the leg side this time. There's no run for him there.
The problem is obviously getting that amount of runs, and you just look at the start. Rory Burns second ball, a big drive, a real big drive. He's been in great form, he's been playing nicely. I've not seen him play a big drive early in his innings in the previous 3 innings of this Test series. Perfect length from Henry, and it's just a carrot dangle, trying to play the big drive down the ground.
Henry again bowls, Crawley allows that to go by outside his off stump. Yeah, so they've got some battling to do. 63 behind, and they've lost both openers already. Root not yet off the mark up at the far end, leading on his bat. He's been very animated today. He's never lost a series at home, and I think he just felt this one slipping away today. He delivered a ferocious telling off during the drinks break this morning. Henry bowls, Crawley drives, is a lovely shot. Straight down the ground. And although 2 fielders are pursuing the ball, they won't stop that one. Very straight, just a little punch, and Crawley moves to 14, 26 for 2.
Yeah, that's Crawley at his best. We've seen him play the off drive off Trent Boult down the ground for 4. Now the on drive off Matt Henry, and somehow that's what he's just got to do. He's just got to be in a. You need to have that tension. You need to have that little bit of nerves inside yourself. I always believe that's nerves that's telling you that you're ready to perform. But you've also got to have the instinctive mind and eyes to just say, right, I'll just react. Don't be worried about those edges that have got him out in the previous 3 innings. That's all been and gone. That's for the history. Yep. He's just got to play today and react to the ball, and so far he's looked good. He's looked a lot better than we've seen. Well, he hasn't been out there long for us to see him, really, so Yeah, he's given himself half a chance here.
And Patel's swinging his arms around at mid-wicket there. It's looking quite busy. I don't know if he's going to come on off just one over from Henry at that end, but certainly preparing himself. But for now, it's Bolt in the sunshine, running in and bowling to England's captain Joe Root, who gets opened up there, expecting that ball to swing into his legs, but actually it went straight on. Bolt fields in the follow-through. Mitchell's loosening up too. They're all loosening up. Mitchell there at third slip, going through his bowling action.
I was thinking, if I was New Zealand, I think I'd be giving Patel a ball before Mitchell.
So would I.
On this surface.
Bolt walks thoughtfully back. Added some useful runs with Patel earlier. 26 for 2. Looking for his first wicket. Oh, Root fields for this outside the off stump. That's another one that goes across him rather than into him.
Yeah, just looking at Joe Root's technique, he's tinkered and he's changed. He's got this back and across movement, which is a lot more prominent than I've seen. Tried it in the winter, but in the winter he didn't face that much seam. It doesn't look to me like it's in sync against the seamers. It just looks like he's out of sync. He's not in the rhythm. Just looking to see if he's doing that bat swizzle as well.
Yes, I was just looking too. He's doing it when the bowler was running up.
Yeah, he's not doing it today.
In the winter. Well, let's see. He hasn't started running in yet. Let's have a look. No, a straight pickup, and Bolt bowls to him. Again, a straight delivery. Root plays back to the bowler. No run.
Yeah, I always think Joe looks fantastic against seamers when he's just got a little initial trigger movement and then he can dip back into those full length balls. But by getting just onto that front foot, anything slightly short, he can really press back, and his back foot punch through cover point is right up there with the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't see that he'll be able to do that from this movement that he has now. I think it's too much on the back foot.
Waiting for Bolt. Goes in and bowls to him, and he works that towards mid-on's right hand, so he'll get a single there. Wagner's the fielder. 1-2. Root is off the mark now.
I wonder where the swivel's gone.
Bat twiddle.
Yeah, because he did in the winter, didn't he?
Yes.
When the bowler was running in, he just swiveled it in his hand. He's stopped that now.
He has stopped it. It was surprising. I mean, he came back in the right place every time with the bowler running in.
I'd drop it.
Well, exactly. So I'd end up with the bat the wrong way round. So Crawley, tall figure, right-handed. He's got a sweater on. Waits as Bolt runs in and bowls to him. He comes forward. That takes the outside edge. Ball runs down to gully.
He's got a better field now, Trent Bolt, because he's put mid off very straight. He's put an extra cover in place. So he's basically taken his cover point to a straight extra cover. So anything in front of him now, Zach Crawley can see his fielders, whereas before there was a big gap between mid off and the ball, and also extra cover was vacant. So New Zealand have just closed that up.
27 for 2. Crawley waits, bat raised very still, then he goes to pull that. There's some arms raised in the slip cordon. Nothing from the bowler Bolt. He tried to pull a short ball there, wasn't too far away from his gloves. Send the over. 27 for 2. So England are 58 behind. They've lost both their openers, and is poised for something.
We mentioned England's struggles and Joe Root coming in so often with not many on the board and 2 wickets down. Since October 2018 in Test cricket, England's average score at the fall of the second wicket has been 56. That's the 9th best of the 12 teams who played Test cricket. They're ahead only of Bangladesh, West Indies and Ireland, who've only played a very few Test matches. So it does sort of highlight the point you're making.
Yeah.
About Root's batting, Michael, you notice in the winter that he taps the bat on the ground just before the bowler bowls, which he wasn't doing last summer.
It's on strike now. Henry bowls to him. It's plays from the crease. Henry fields in the follow through.
Why do you think he would have made that change, and what effect would it have on a batsman?
I don't know. But when a player like Joe Root, who's played so much, over 100 tests, 8,700 runs, I guess he's going searching for rhythm and wants to try and improve.
Henry on his way, bowls, and that slides away off a thick edge, very well stopped there in the slip. So they just grab everything in there. Mitchell again to his right.
I don't know, Andy. I mean, I guess he will have just tried things in the nets, and 1 or 2 things that he's done in the nets has felt right.
See, they're analysing it on the telly now. You can really zoom in on someone's technique, can't you?
Yeah, I just don't think you needed to change too much when you've got 8,700 Test match runs. You've done plenty right.
Henry bowls, and there's an appeal there for leg before wicket from the slip cord, not so much from the bowler. I've had nothing from the bowler, who's not interested at all. I think Latham's saying he's sure. And Root's got that sort of cherubic smile on his face. One not out. He's got an interesting double tap with the front foot as well. It's very well looking to say, really analysing someone's technique, but was that pad first?
Yeah, it was, but he's outside the line of off stump.
Yeah. 27 for 2. 3 slips a gully waiting. Henry again off a shortish run, moves in and bowls to Root, again guides this down to Gully's left hand, and again he's smiling as well.
Aren't they?
He's got this angelic smile, Root. Actually, it must drive you mad as a bowler. You have a moral victory, you say something, you just get this angelic smile back.
Who's at Gully there? Because Mitchell at third slip is fantastic. Who's just done that diving stop to the left?
What number is he?
Is that Will Young?
It's Nichols.
Nichols, yeah. Here comes Henry. Bowls to Root on the off stump, quite full. But he's in the crease again, playing to Conway at mid-off. 27 for 2. England under pressure, no doubt about that. A lot of batting to do here.
Matt Henry's been impressive, hasn't he? Into this Test match, he's bowled a good length. He's got just enough movement, decent pace.
Bustles in again, bowls. Beats the outside edge. Again, a ball that kept a little low. It's taken by Blundell by his bootlaces. But again, beating the outside edge, and every ball there was absolutely on the money. Off stump, just outside, perfect length, a little bit of movement there away from the right-hander. 27 for 2. Root has 1, Crawley 14. Events of the day. New Zealand were bowled out for 388 in the end. They were 312 for 5. England chipping away, but you saw runs added at the end. Blundell got 34, Henry 12, Ajaz Patel got 20, and Trent Boult 12. So they got their lead up to 85. Probably not quite as many as they'd have wanted at the start of the day. So England have pulled it back a little. In goes Boult, and he bowls to Crawley, who flicks up beautifully through mid-wicket. That's a fine shot. Just flicking that away with a closed face to the bat. Wagner never gives up, and you can see why. He's got that within about a foot of the boundary edge. Throwing himself into a dive.
But I just think that's why Crawley's such a good player, and that's what it's worth England just sticking with him a bit, because whatever happens there, he just has that ability to throw a punch back at a bowler. That's not that bad of delivery. You know, it's a ball that's hit pied on around mid stump, but he's got the timing and the game to be able to hit the gap, just put a bit of pressure on the bowler. So important that you have players in your top 3 that can do that.
It's a beautiful stroke. Boult bowls, Roots in the crease to quite a full ball, picked up by Conway, and of course that's what this move is doing. It is allowing the bowler, someone like Boult, who swings it anyway, to have that little bit of extra length to swing it a little bit more.
See, I reckon Root, when he's at his best, that's a length and a ball of coming to him in the height that he would have punched that through extra cover.
30 for 2. He's on 1, faced 14 balls so far. Boult wheels round. Sun beating down over Edgbaston is there, and he bowls full, and that's Root getting on the front foot this time. Playing very correctly up to mid-off. So yes, 388, a lead of 85. But Burns was out second ball, caught by Latham for a duck, and then Sibley followed in the 5th over for 8. Both to smart catches in the slip cord, and New Zealand have been excellent in there.
Yeah, they've taken a slip out. Bolt's going to come around the wicket. Mitchell from third slip's gone to short mid-wicket on the catch.
Root doing some gardening. It'll be a different part of the pitch that Boult will land the ball on here, so he's having a quick look, make sure everything's in order. Now he's ready, and Boult runs in, goes round the wicket, and bowls and beats Root outside the off stump. It just held its own, that one, and come in again as Root was expecting.
I think it's hard work for Joe Root just at the minute. 1 from 16. He's got looks like a little bit of a lack of rhythm and timing. Beautiful bowl now around the wicket, the angle, and it just kind of angled in and seamed away from Joe Root.
That wobble seam again, wasn't it? 30 for 2. Root on 1. Waits now as Bolt bowls to him, and back he goes. Plays getting a full ball down into gully. And as has been the case the first couple of days, a little bit quieter over to our right now. Still various inflatables being brandished about. But generally, I think it's sort of a mid-afternoon nap time for some in there. Settle back and watch the cricket. The blue inflatable shark is still doing the rounds. Gladiator takes his place. Bolt bowls and Root turns that to mid-wicket to that man who's been placed there. Close in on the leg side, and there's no run at the end of the over. 30 for 2. Crawley 17, Root has 1. And England are still 55 runs behind with 8 wickets left. Change of bowling, is there possibly? Or Wagner is digging around at the footholes at this end?
Yeah, he may have just been given the nod by the skipper. You generally give a bowler a couple of overs notice so you can start to get in the right frame of mind, start get loose. I'm sure Henry will bowl one long spell. He's bowled great, hasn't he? 2 for 11 so far. Patel they've got as well, New Zealand, a frontline spinner. Got a couple in the first innings. Well, I think he'll get a bit more spin in the second. So they've got more to kind of go to, New Zealand. A couple of left armers, right armers, a couple of those, and a left arm spinner. A more balanced attack.
Henry starts a new over, bowls, and hits Crawley on the pad. This is out, surely. Yep, up it goes. I'm afraid from here, even from behind him, that didn't look good for Zak Crawley. And he's coming up and having a conversation with his captain. Well, they might have seen something. He clearly hasn't hit it because he would have reviewed it by now. It looked out from here. Well, they're calling for a review. Well, I suppose they probably have to, but that just looked from here to be pretty straight.
Well, Joe Root, I think, is almost feeling sorry for Zak Crawley and thinking, well, we've got 3 reviews. I'll give you one, but I'm pretty sure it's out.
It felt out, didn't it? Even though we've got no real view of it.
Length, nip backs, well, not a great deal. Oh, it's out.
Yeah, I'm afraid
there appears to be no bat involved.
It's his back
that, please,
pad. That's hit the back flap, as it were.
Yeah,
but it just looks.
Keep going through all the way to the back.
It just looks out. He's been given out.
No bat involved. So ball tracking, one available, please.
Ball tracking then. How many reds do we get? 1, 2.
Ball tracking coming up now.
3.
Pitching outside off, impacting line, and it's hitting the wickets, Richard. So stay with your original decision of out. I'll let you know when you're on screen.
I think Joe Root just wanted to be kind there, just in case the 2% chance that might have maybe just brushed the inside edge, may have just hit him outside the line. But Crawley goes for 17. He was playing nicely, but Matt Henry once again, he's bowling a tremendous spell. He's just getting enough movement. There's not a great deal, it's just enough. Got the movement to find the outside edge of Dom Sibley. That was a bit of movement and a bit of bounce. Rory Burns was a poor stroke second ball of the innings, and now he's just got one to just sit back. Not a great deal, just enough. Just looked like it might have skidded on a bit quicker. It did him for a bit of pace.
Trapped him back, didn't it? Yeah. Well, Ollie Pope's had 2 good starts so far with the bat, but hasn't kicked on. He looked in good touch, and he played a nondescript shot in the first innings to get out to Patel. It did look well set. That scratching you can hear is Neil Wagner raking away at where his front foot would be landing, and he's getting told off by the umpire, I think, for that, because he's right in Pope's territory. You can't really do that. We had all this conversation and discussion with Steve Smith, wasn't there? That's the batsman's place.
Yes,
it's his crease. You can't go doing that.
Correct.
And the umpire there quite rightly saying, come on. Scratching around like that right under his nose while he's taking guard. With dust and all sorts flying around. Anyway, Pope's taken his guard. England are 55 behind, and Henry's taken 3 wickets. 3 for 11. He's at his 6th over. Pope's first ball. In comes Henry. He's there and he bowls to him as forward, playing a very confident-looking stroke. It beats mid-off. He's off the mark first ball. Wagner's racing down to that long-off boundary. And they're thinking about coming back for the third. They are taking the third. Pope's got his head down and makes his ground at the far end.
It's big innings this for Ollie Pope, Aggers. Dan Lawrence in the first innings got runs, played great. Looking at that first test against India, Ben Stokes possibly will be back number 5, Butler will be back number 7. And you start looking at who's going to bat 6 at this stage, you say probably Dan Lawrence, just got his noses in front.
Yep.
You know, Pope gets a score here, he'll put himself back into the mix for 6 or potentially number 3.
Root allows that to move away off the seam. It's taken low by the wicketkeeper. 33 for 3. And little things too, isn't it? I mean, Lawrence, well, useful chaps to throw the ball to for an over or two. You know, it just brings it brings something else for them.
But I say to young players, Aggers, make sure you bowl.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
you're a young bat, just make sure you bowl. Just offer something.
Comes
Doesn't
down to
matter what
a
it is.
key decision.
Yep.
It's useful. Now the next one has Root on the front foot, head right over that, playing down to mid-off. He knows the enormity of the task here now, 52 behind. The top 3 all dismissed.
Well, you offer a few overs and then you become a brilliant fielder. And obviously a top order batter, it's ideal, isn't it?
Yep.
It's very difficult just to be a batter. You've got to be outstanding, incredible.
And back goes Root, bit of extra bounce there. I don't know if it's changed or not, but I used to think when I was batting, okay, 30 for 3, so that's 5 in, 6, 7 padding up, number 8 thinking about it. And number 8 is Mark Wood.
Yeah, I think we'll move on. Played well in the first innings, got his 41.
Yeah. So England have a lot to do. This partnership's crucial. Root's on 1. Henry on his way, bowls to him, and again an immaculate 4 defensive shot. It's picked up at mid-off, and there's no run. Well bowled Henry, terrific spell this. He's taken 3 wickets, and England in big trouble here. More from Michael Vaughan, and then Dan Norcross will come in.
Yeah, big trouble. Brilliant from New Zealand. Henry 3 for 14, bowling the perfect channel, perfect length. Can Root and Pope just get something going. Pope always likes to get out there and be busy. Likes to get at the bowlers pretty much from ball 1, which is entertaining, but it always senses an element of risk with Ollie Pope early in an innings. So I think New Zealand will fancy this, may give them an opportunity, and that slip cordon so far, well, they haven't looked like dropping much.
Well, Bolt's coming round the wicket, and because he's going to target off middle stump, isn't he? Target the LBW. Pope's been out a few times like that since he's moved so exaggeratedly over to off stump. We're seeing right down the barrel here, and his bat actually tapped just about on off stump. Bolt into him, keeps low, and he digs that out to Mitchell at mid wicket. There's up and, well, I say up and down, it's down, isn't it? There's a lot of down at the moment.
Yeah, it's so important that you just react to the ball, stare, be sharp in your mind, in your thought process.
England are in a perilous position here, 33 for 3. If they're going to fight back, they need partnerships pretty much now. Bolt in to Pope, who gets a thick edge. It runs down to the deep third boundary. It will bring him 4. It wasn't a false shot as such, but he also wasn't in perfect control of it. It's come off the outer half of his bat. Slightly guided, slightly edgy. There's not been many convincing shots in this innings so far. Crawley had a couple of beautiful drives, but for the most part England's batters have been tested. 37 for 3. Pope with that moves to 7.
Yeah, I must admit I'm surprised that New Zealand haven't got a third slip in. And I'd just take the square leg out. I'd keep the short mid wicket in place and just put square leg into that third slip cordon. Just looks too big a gap between second and 6th.
Bolt in again, and Pope defends more solidly this time, pushes out to Conway in offside. He is getting a little bit of shape, but he had beaten the Roots bat a couple of times when he was propping forward. with one that from round the wicket and then shaping away.
Well, I think if you watch the way that he's got the seam like across his fingers, I think he's bowling these, angled from around the wicket and almost like cutters, like sharp leg cutters.
He's a hugely skillful bowler. He's got a fair bit of movement where England's bowlers didn't really in the air. Here is Bolt, and that's clipped away nicely by Pope. He'll get a run for it as it bounces just in front of Ajaz Patel, who can't stop it cleanly, and Mitchell has to run back to collect from short mid-wicket. 38 for 3. Andy, are you sorted now? Did you get your green pen from... And you know he'd lost his green pen and he was very, very vexed by it.
Yes, I located it.
You did that at tea break, did you?
Was it lost or stolen? Did someone teeth it?
No, it was entirely his own fault. He got up in a rush and then it got lodged underneath the air conditioning unit. Bolt in. It's time to root down the leg side. A good diving stop from Blundell prevents any runs. It's a big innings for Ollie Pope. Dan Lawrence hitting 81 in the first innings, an unbeaten 81, and Stokes is going to come back in, isn't he?
Yeah.
So,
which has gone through that, which is it's a big innings.
Bit of a shootout going on.
Look at Joe Root. He's 1 from 23, so the Kiwis are keeping the England captain quiet.
That's unusual for Root, isn't it? Andy, I dare say he's looking into that now. Bolt in, full, pushed into the offside, and there's no run at the end of the over. 38 for 3. Pope 8, Root 1. Remind me, Michael, who you managed to get in the
Portugal.
Portugal, that's right.
Yes.
Have
Wales won? Have they managed to win or? They've got points.
Are we allowed? I don't know if we should. Are we supposed to reveal spoilers?
Miles Stump's just gone flying outside the ground on television.
It's a nice thing to see, isn't it?
Why have they just shown Glenn McGrath knocking my old dolly out of the ground?
That does seem sort of like just bullying, doesn't it?
That is bullying, yes. That's TV bullying.
They've heard you're on the radio, so they've just gone and shown you getting out. Marvellous. 38 for 3. All 3 wickets to Matt Henry. He has 3 for 14. He's coming in now to Pope, who's crouching down, then rises up and drives firmly through mid-off, not with perfect timing. It's being pursued by Conway eagerly, and he will drag it back in. Actually, he does a bit of relay with Neil Wagner, and they come back for 2. 40 for 3. All the Euro games, they're live over on 5 Live, with plenty of coverage on BBC TV as well. So if you wish to catch up with the games later, you can, or you can watch them live, or you can listen to them live. We've got a lot of skin in a lot of those games, haven't we? So I think we're all up against each other, of course, but tonight there's some heavyweight clashes. Who's playing tonight again? Remind me.
Belgium tonight, I think against Russia.
Right. Henry is into Pope. Pope just dabs this into the offside. Both batters thought about a run, it wasn't there as Patel scampers in to field. 40 for 3, the score remains.
Yeah, Ollie Pope is busy. He's active. He's a player that I think always wants to try and ask a question of the bowler. He's just got to be very careful that he doesn't do it too soon at this level. Just like to see a bit more compactness at the start of his innings. It just gives himself a better chance just to get in.
Henry is in to him, and he lets this go by outside the off stump. There's no run. Do you know what? It reminds me a little bit of Graham Thorpe, you'll have played with, who frequently went off quite quickly and then stopped. His first 15-20 runs often felt like they were coming about to run a ball, and then...
Well, Thorpe used to always like, if he was out of the runs or out of form, his way of getting back into form would be to go out there and try and strike it.
Right.
Try and get the 15. Steve Waugh used to do that.
Mark Stoneman I've seen try and do that, as Henry is in, driven by Pope gloriously. That is totally Ian Bell fashion. How appropriate at Edgbaston. You could, if you rewound 15 years, that could have been Ian Bell driving along the ground through extra cover for 4. Andy, you have something for us.
Well, Matt Henry's opening spell, 3 wickets in the first 6 overs. Visiting bowlers opening the bowling who've taken 3 in their first 6 overs in England in the last 20 years. Only Kemar Roach at Lords in 2012 has done so before Henry in this spell.
Really? That seems unusual, especially given the way that England's top order seems to have collapsed continuously for the last 20 years. I'm looking around at some of England's top order the last 20 years. They're giving me the evils. As Henry is in, that's clipped away nicely by Pope. That'll run away down to deep backward square leg. It is being pursued, and it might be pulled back in by Young. It will be, as the ball sort of stops about 3 or 4 yards in front of the sponge, and he picks up 2 more. Busy he has been. 46 for 3, moves to 16 from 10. Might you also be able to investigate Root's unusually slow start?
I'm crunching a database.
Are you?
Give me a... I'll get
You're
to
on
the
it.
end
You're
of the
doing
day.
it. You're doing it, as Basil Fawlty famously says about the Moose's Head. 46 for 3. Pope crouches again. 3 slips in gully. As Henry is into him. He defends solidly this time. The ball just rolls up to Wagner at mid-on. 46 for 3 at the end of the over. Pope 16 from 11. Root 1 from 24. And the deficit now 39. We're having a change in the commentary box. Michael's making way. Keeping an eye, no doubt, on the 5 o'clock fixture. The games come thick and fast. So does the cricket. We have women's cricket next week. I'll be down at Bristol with Henry Moran, Ali Mitchell, and Amy Lofthouse, among others. And there's a 4-day test match. England last played India in a test match at Wormsley in 2014. Well, again, the chance to play test cricket again. That promises to be a very intriguing clash. That's from the 16th to the 19th of June, and then from the 18th to the 22nd we've got the World Test Championship final featuring New Zealand and of course India, and you'll be able to follow both those games, both those test matches. Firstly, the India and England women's clash will be across 5 Live Sports Extra, then it will move to Radio 4 Longwave for the last 2 days, as well as of course online via the app. Wagner is into the attack. He's bowling to Root, and Root defends a ball that swings back in towards his pads. It's been good shape here for Wagner all match, hasn't there? As Alistair Cook has joined me.
Good evening. They've got the ball moving, haven't they?
How come?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, England have got Broad and Anderson, who are purveyors of a moving ball, and yet Wagner and Bolt.
And Henry.
And Henry, indeed, and Henry.
That's
Yes.
right. And the cloud, there's not a cloud in the sky.
Is there a separate box of balls for New Zealand? Have they got special, slightly weighted ones?
Well, possibly you say there's special balls for England. You'd hope at home ground.
You would hope it would work that way.
It seems like this ball's swinging. It's just doing enough, and they bowled really well. Rory Burns, a bit of a soft shot. Second ball.
Wagner into Root, and Root pushes off the back foot into the covers, but can't beat the field at cover point. Yes, it was a bit soft. The first ball could have been left, or second ball of the innings could have been left alone by Burns, but then the one to Crawley. I mean, what are we making of the techniques? We're sort of trying to dissect the techniques of England's top 3, and they're all a bit different.
Well, Crawley looks the most simple, isn't he? He looks, I mean, some of those shots are glorious shots. He looked like he'd freed himself of kind of that self-doubt and uncertainty.
Wagner into Root. Root lets a wide ball go through to the keeper.
And he was looking to be positive, and that's kind of how I've seen him play for Essex against. When we played them, if Kent, he always looks to take the attacking option and has the great ability of hitting good balls for 4. That's kind
Times it so well, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I thought he was away, and then just missed one. Did it nip back? I haven't really seen the replay of it. Did it nip back?
Nip back a bit, beat the inside edge. It was 3 reds. It was very out. Very out.
I thought height might have saved him.
Wagner into Root, who drives firmly straight down to Bolt at mid-off. Straight to Bolt at mid-off.
It's very un-Joe Root like this, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Normally he's busy.
This is 1 off 30. 28, sorry, I beg your pardon. 1 off 28.
Setting a stall out, maybe, that we're going to grind away.
I think the sadness for England fans is that you see what's possible with Crawley. The ceiling seems to be so high and so sumptuous as well. Ornate ceiling. As Wagner is into Root, who pushes off the back foot again to the covers, but again can't beat cover point. Again, there will be no addition to the score.
Well, the 260 odd is the ceiling, isn't it? That is what we know he can do, and whether he carries on playing or whatever the selectors, Chris Silver decides to do with him. he will play for England again. He's good enough. I'm not saying he won't start against India, but
he got a wonderful 50 on a really, really difficult pitch at Ahmedabad.
Yeah.
Amidst a lot of very low scores, but it was an extraordinary knock at that 50 in very trying circumstances. As Wagner is into Root, and Root works this away nicely off his pads down towards long leg, gets a run, first run off Wagner. Root's second run, which has probably ruined a stat for Andy, off his 30th ball at the end of that over England, 47 for 3. Has that ruined your day, Andy?
Not entirely, Dan.
Good. He's still going.
He's still, yeah. It's not completely unusual for Root. Recently, we talked on the busyness index, particularly in one-day cricket, how adept he is at working the ball around. But in terms of his starts, I've looked at 2 periods of his career: 2015 summer through to the end of the 2017 summer. In his first 30 balls, he scored at a strike rate of 60 runs per 100 balls. That equates to about 3.6 per over. He took over as captain at the start of the 2017 summer. Went to Australia. England had a difficult tour. That's the first time his captaincy came under real pressure. Since then, in his first 30 balls, his strike rate's come down to 46, 2.8 per over. Quite a significant drop in how fluently he scored at the start of his innings.
Is that the weight of responsibility? Did you feel that when you were captaining?
I actually think I batted exactly the same. I think my record is exactly the same whether I was captain or non-captain. I think
Henry starts a new over from the City end, and Root pushes off the back foot to Ajaz Patel at backward point,
which is slightly worrying because my first 5 games as captain I got 500s. The rest of the time I must have been absolute chunk. You get off to that good a start and then you end up still averaging just 40 at the end of it.
So there's no sort of sense that when you go out there there's a greater burden and you're thinking I must not play this shot, because a negative suggestion is never a good thing.
Never. I think when you first get the captaincy,
Henry's in, right arm over the wicket to Root, who works this up to mid-on, no run.
You tend to get a bit of a spike in your batting because there's so many other things going on in your mind that kind of batting just seems to happen. You give it a little bit of attention, but you don't spend all the night worrying about your front elbow, your front leg or your head position. You're worrying about selection, pitch, issues surrounding captaincy, and then the batting just happens, and because you're captain you tend to...
Henry bustles in and Root drives through mid-off. It's going to be pursued by Conway. It'll be pulled back in, I think, but not before Root has turned for a third run, which he does, and it brings the 50 up for England. 50 for 3, Root to 5.
I've forgotten where I was going now. You tend to obviously, you bat with the captaincy. You bat with that responsibility, trying to lead from the front. And then I suppose for me over time, just with captaincy, and it just wears you down. I think it just something. There's always going to be an issue, like obviously very highly publicised the issue with Kevin Peterson, and I suppose the one-day form. That just started to just grind you down. Your mental energy becomes slightly less every single time.
So you just got less to give when you're out there batting. Yeah. Henry is in to Pope. Pope defends solid on the front foot.
I'm just saying little chips, isn't it? Little chips, just time, and eventually you got, after 5 years, I'd had enough.
I mean, there'll be a lot of people who have a lot of sympathy with you with that, and there are a lot of club captains who will say, but at least he didn't get cry-offs on a Friday night. That was the one thing that you were actually spared.
No, I don't think anyone wants sympathy. I don't think it's a sympathy job. I think it is the greatest job you can do. You are tested beyond belief in so many different ways that you're so unexpected.
Henry in, and Pope plays a glorious shot through mid-wicket. It's being chased by 2 New Zealand fielders. I think the ball will not win. It has just been pulled back by Wagner, and Pope will get 3 for that and move with that to 19. 53 for 3. Do you sort of resent? I mean, resent's probably not the right word, but when you're captain, you have to front up when things don't go well, and that must take its toll, doesn't it? Because you find yourself in a negative position so many times.
Yeah, and actually, I always found the media were pretty good when we got thumped. Actually, it wasn't like you were expecting the worst in the media conference.
Henry to Root, pushed into the offside, fielded in the covers, and there's no run. It's 53 for 3,
and they were fairly fair. You also knew what was coming. Like if you'd got bowled out for 120 and and 50, they're going to say about your batting, and there's no hiding place. You just have to front up and be as honest as you can about it.
Continue with this thought, Alistair, and then Alison Mitchell will replace me for the next 20 minutes.
I can't remember where the thought started off there, so but no, it is one of the great jobs, because you are tested, in so many different ways and unexpectedly, and almost the captaincy on the field is the bit which you can plan for. There's so many other decisions you're involved in. It's so exciting. You makes you as a leader grow in so many different ways. I absolutely loved it. It was a brilliant job, but it is a hard job to do.
Good evening, Alistair.
Good evening. Sorry, I was just whittling on about.
No, I have some follow-up questions for you.
I'm not going to do a Stuart Broad on me. I'll interrogate me.
Wagner to Pope. Shapes the play, swivels a little, just bends that knee, watches it go through to the keeper, and no run. 53 for 3 then, as England in some bother trying to make up this deficit. Here comes Andy quickly first.
Just finishing off that thing on Joe Root's slow starts. 2 from his first 30 balls, only twice has he had a slower start than that. One of them was last summer against Pakistan at Old Trafford, when he was one off 30. But of the 7 times he's been 4 or fewer off 30, 4 of them have been within the last year. So he's been, as I said, more cautious at the start of his innings.
A bit of a grind for him here. Wagner full
Shot.
swinging ball. It's been
Phil.
well saved at mid-wicket as well. Well struck and well stopped.
He's timed the nuts off everything, hasn't he, to this inning so far, Pope. He's been very, very proactive, but he's timed it well. I think that, I suppose, what you're looking at a Joe Root situation, I think when he first took over, it was all about scoring runs and being quite attacking with Trevor Bayliss, and this is how we're going to play our cricket. Pick Jason Roy for example of it, and then they decided, the top 3 or 4 have got to lay the platform.
Wagner to Pope, full once more, and he's forward looking to drive, only as far as mid-off, no run.
You have to lay the platform. They talked about the top 3 laying the platform, grinding away, getting the bowls into 3rd and 4th spells, and then the middle order, which he's obviously a bit part of as well. He kind of, number 4, you're kind of top order a bit if you're in early, and if you're in a bit later, you could be more attacking. So I think that bit, with him talking about that in the media, talking about in the team, that's probably a kind of a reason why he's been a bit slower to start with, because that's, you're saying that you got to go and, as a leader, you got to go and follow up with your words with action. So that's probably why he started a little bit slower.
Pope facing Wagner outside the off stump, a flash, and he's got it away between 3rd slip and gully for 4, behind square on that offside, very deliberately, attackingly played. And England are 28 behind now. Pope on to 23, 57 for 3 England.
As well as Pope scored a lot of runs in county cricket, just behind square on the offside. There's a bit of width. There's a back cut. I think this is now the mental side for Ollie Pope. We all know he's good enough. We all know he's got his first class record. I keep saying average is 60. I think it's fairly close to 60. But in Test match cricket, hasn't he got 9 or 10 starts recently, about 20 to 30 or double figures, and without going on? And there's no doubt that'll be playing on his mind now. He's got a brilliant start. 17 balls, he's on 23, he's off and running. Can he make it count this time?
He's looked busy, hasn't he, from the moment he came out, and even in fact when it's been a dot ball, it's been almost like a drop and then a movement as if he could perhaps steal a single, and even that is always just signalling to the opposition that I'm looking to score, I'm looking to turn over the strike. Andy?
His last 11 innings before this one, he'd reached double figures 10 times and only once reached 30, which is when he made 34 in India, the first test.
22 in the first innings at Lord's, 20 not out in the draw. Full swinging in from Wagner, chipped up to Conway, who's at mid-on, and no run.
And his conversion rate's good, isn't it, in first class cricket? I think if he gets in, he tends to make it count. So it's not as if he can't do it, he just hasn't done it at this level, and when you haven't done it yet at the level consistently, it always plays in your mind. And just this little theme he's in of getting starts without going on, the challenge of Test cricket, and everyone knows it, everyone knows about it. Can he deal with it? Can he put that aside and just concentrate on the important thing, which is this ball?
He crouches low, waits for Wagner, who bounds in. It's full in on his toes, chipping up to mid-on once more. Conway fields.
This Pope has 7 half-centuries in Test cricket, only one of which he's converted into 100s. For Surrey, 14 50-plus scores, and he's converted 10 of those 14 into 3 figures.
It's not a bad conversion rate, is it?
That's outstanding.
You would take that.
He's 20, I'm going to say 23?
Pope is 23, yes. Yeah.
It's outstanding figures.
Wagner, slight angle to his run up, left arm over and again. Oh, that squared him up, got him on the pad and gone, and the finger's gone up. Just as we were saying that about Pope. 23 runs to his name. Is he going to review this? I mean, the appeal was immediate. He is going to ask the question. England are 58 for 3. This could become 58 for 4.
It looks perfect from here, doesn't it? The left arm up. What the dream dismissal for the right-hander, shape him back in to get him LBW. Has it pitched in line?
Okay, just walk him on that, please.
The ooze from the crowd because the ball was
edge, please, Matt.
struck above the knee roll. Ollie Pope's not a tall batsman.
Yeah, all the way
Was
through.
he hit it?
Please, just take it back, please. Take it back, yeah.
Questioning the
okay.
inside edge.
Yeah, keep going through frame by frame. Very
No.
slowly. Yeah, okay. No bat involved. Ball tracking when available, please.
All on the ball tracking then.
Umpire's call
Just
gives
went for ball tracking, Richard.
New Zealand that extra inch or so, doesn't it?
Well, the on-field
Ball tracking
signal
coming in
out
now.
of course.
Pitching in line. Impact is in line. And it's umpire's call on hit the wickets. So
Well,
stay with your original
clipping
decision
the top of the
out.
bail.
Richard, I'll let you know when you're on screen.
It's the on-field umpire call, which does for Ollie Pope. And Richard Illingworth raises the finger once again in confirmation. England are 27 behind, but they're now 4 down. 58 for 4. And Pope, it's another score in the 20s for England at this level. Wagner just delighted to get that wicket. He celebrates with such gusto, doesn't he? And New Zealand, a position of strength just got a little bit stronger.
Yeah, you can see Ollie Pope shaking the head at dismissal at the decision. It is clipping, so it is. The umpire's had every right to give it out. We feel hard done by. But the umpire call has gone with New Zealand, but in real time it looked probably a bit closer than the replay showed. But again, another start. It's only so many times you can keep talking about it until the batsman or the player changes it.
Things really not looking good for England now. Still got a deficit to make up. Dan Lawrence to come out to join Roots. Want to feed off the 81 he got in the first innings. Remembered is how he played that knock. And then try at the other end. He wants the captain to bed in. And this is the difficulty with Roots. Been out there for 34 balls so far. Struggling to get going. Spin is yet to come on. We might see a little bit of spin very shortly.
It's a slightly strange choice for me, this. Because these two players, Dan Lawrence in particular, is a very good player of spin. And we know the Joe Root's class of spin. So you just thought whether Maiden had to be Henry, but Mitchell could have just gone for a couple, then go back to Bolt, because if they can get one of these two straight away, I'm the worst commentator in terms of commentators' curse. So you probably Patel will spin one past Joe Root's outside edge now or something, but you'd feel like you'd want to bowl seam at Dan Lawrence to start with.
Well, it's Root on strike for the moment, and Patel is coming on. He's marshalling his field. He's got a slip in place. There's a short leg as well. Catcher at short extra cover. Backward points. So extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket as well. Pressure piling on England now. Around the wicket goes Patel. It's full and Root's forward looking to drive, but only finds mid-off, and there's no run. I had questions to ask you, Cookie, about the job of England captain, but a lot's happened since I sat down. Patel in a little bit quicker this time, and Root forward getting right over the ball, dribbling out to the offside and no run. And he's got a little bit more as well.
So on that last over, the 5th ball was a no ball, and Pope was dismissed off the 7th, or the 6th legitimate ball of the game.
Now here's a question. Patel firing it in again, and along the ground, Root turns down a single, and probably wisely so, because he finds cover. No balls aren't being called electronically in this test match, are they? The on-field umpire.
No, they are being told after the event.
Right, and that's why you sometimes miss it as a commentator, fair to say. Around the wicket goes Patel, Root forward, head over the ball. Because you always look for the umpire's signal as the delivery's bowled, but then with this slight delay, often that signal only comes when the next delivery is about to be bowled. 58 for 4, Patel in, it's full once more, Root is back to it, turns it to short leg. There's no run, sunshine here at Edgbaston. England in real trouble. It's Will Young under the helmet at short leg, Ross Taylor at slip, Patel around the wicket, more air that time, and Root blocks it, keeps it out. First over is negotiated without any runs added, though trailing by 27 England. It'll be Lawrence on strike, 58 for 4. I was going to ask you, Alistair, just simply about, we see you as captain, we see Joe as captain on the field at media conferences. What are all the other things that are happening, between matches, even between games, when you're back at home?
Well, I suppose it's what isn't happening. You're talking to the coaches, to players, to, I suppose, Straussy would have been to me about future planning. It's not every day. We're not saying you're doing stuff. As Joe Root after this break, after this game, we'll give her a break. He'll get a week or two, and then you'll start.
Can you switch his phone off?
No, you can't quite do that
on your emails.
But you know what I mean? Like, then, just as you're preparing for a series, are we getting the right analysis? What are we looking for this? What are we looking for that? Certain players, how they play. You just. And then there'll always be an off-field something. The stuff which happened with Ollie Robinson. There'll always be something bubbling, whether it's about contracts or about any issues.
Here's Dan Lawrence's first ball. He's facing Wagner. It's pitched across him, left arm over the wicket. He leaves it well alone. Looking down the pitch, is gauging the pace. Looking at the surface now, a bit of a prod with the toe end of his bat as well. Yeah, so it never did.
And what I really enjoyed about it, it tested you because you didn't know what you're going to be tested on, if that makes sense. You didn't know where the conversation was going, what was going to happen with that kind of week, whatever. So it was brilliant. It was an amazing experience to do it. So when you think about the England captain, you're quite a young guy when you're doing it.
Wagner into Lawrence, outside edge, it's taken by the keeper. A diving take to his right, and Lawrence is out for a duck. England are crumbling here, 58 for 5 now. Still 27 runs behind, and New Zealand quite rightly are smothering Neil Wagner in hugs and high fives, and there's a pained expression on Joe Root's face as Lawrence trudges past him back to the pavilion.
It's a good piece of bowling from Wagner, actually, because both balls have gone across Dan Lawrence, where, you'd say early on, he's quite a big LBW candidate. You've seen the ball swinging back in from Wagner, and you'll be kind of setting yourself up as a batsman for that delivery, and he's just pushed those balls across, and in the end, Dan Lawrence didn't need to play at it, but because he's worried about the ball swinging, it's seen him swinging, he ends up poking at a four-stunt ball, and very fine nick to Blundell behind, and 58 for 5. It's tough viewing.
Well, the crowd are still trying to give England what support they can. James Bracey, who walks out, who had a pretty torrid time with the gloves, and not least with bat. He got a first baller in the first innings here. Managed to grab and keep hold of a couple of catches, but it's really not been a happy time. Duck at Lords, a duck in the first innings. Have we ever had 3 ducks in a row, Andy? Let's not look at that
James.
stat.
No, we're all behind him here.
I think he needs to feel the crowd are behind him. There was a sort of cheer, wasn't there, from those in the ground, probably alive to his plight.
And he's a really good player. He scored a lot of runs for Gloucester to earn his right over the last couple of years. Was in the bubble last year. Impressed everyone with his work rate, his ethic, and his ability to learn. But you're going to be tested, isn't it? Test cricket is a big test, and kind of defines and reveals characters in its sport, and we're going to see now.
Bracey on a pair, 3 slips in a gully. Wagner fired up, left arm over, in now to Bracey, full in on his toes. He managed to bring his bat down. There's the support from the crowd. Well, he's survived getting a double first baller. It's that first run he'll be so eager to get, but it's more than that. It's now needing to stay out there, needing to forge a partnership with Joe Root, who's been wading through treacle at the other end. Been out there for 40 balls now, Root, 5 runs to his name. Bracey, I think, now batting outside of his crease. And the left-hander crouching over his bat. Wagner bounding in again down the leg side, gets bat onto it, but picks out the fielder. Needing to forge a partnership with Joe Root, who's been wading through treacle at the other end. Been out there for 40 balls now, Root, 5 runs to his name. Bracey, I think, now batting outside of his crease. And the left-hander crouching over his bat. Wagner bounding in again down the leg side, gets bat onto it, but picks out the fielder. Picks out mid-wicket, made decent contact. No one on that deep mid-wicket boundary. It's a few yards either side. We've got him off the mark.
There's a ball you want, a leg stump clip, just to get off that horrible pair.
It'd just be a horrible feeling, isn't it, walking out knowing?
No, it's not nice. It's not nice.
A real test of his character and his own resilience here, Bracey. Wagner in now, bowls again, swinging in, and he does get this into the gap wide of mid-on, and Bracey's off the mark. Huge cheer. Well, it's heartwarming, isn't it?
Good on him.
The crowd who are alive to his situation and watched him spill balls and drop a catch earlier in the day.
A nice smile as well. He appreciate, but this guy can bat, this guy can play. So what a time to make a name for himself. What a time to produce an innings here, to drag England back into this game and take something monumental here when you're still 26 runs behind, only 5 wickets left, but build a partnership with Joe Root.
Wagner in as a catcher at short mid-wicket still here for Root. 2 slips in a gully as well. It's down the leg side. It's a good one-handed take, rolling, tumbling take by Blundell behind the stumps. But Neil Wagner, all his heart and soul, it's reaping rewards. 3 wickets for Henry now. Wonderful new ball spell from him to see Burns out for a 2-ball duck. Sibley made 8. He was caught at 3rd slip. Crawley LBW to Henry for 17. After Crawley played a couple of really nice strokes, a couple of drives which made you think, right, he's getting into this innings, but it was all too brief. And Pope looked really busy, active. Again, some really firm strokes, but LBW Wagner for 23. Followed very quickly by Lawrence, caught by a diving keeper off Wagner for a 2-ball duck. So 59 for 5 is the perilous position England find themselves in. New Zealand, wonderful chance. Remember, they haven't won a test series in England since 1999. Change up, what have we got? Matt Henry coming back?
No, I think it's Bolt.
Bolt's from the far end, yep. Left arm's a bit of a change up.
Good call from Tom Latham here, especially against a left-hander as well. He's a fine bowler to left-handers. The odd one swinging away. So the Manny swinging away, the odd one straight. We'll test Bracey's technique.
There we go. Change of ends for Bolt then to the new batsman Bracey. Over he goes now, and Bracey's forward off the inside half of the bat, ball squirting away towards square leg, and Patel picks up a no run, and he rehearses the stroke, Bracey. Also, his being out for a duck, it just felt so cruel given how positive he'd spoken, so openly about his own batting and his own batting aspirations for England in the lead up to the test match when he was asked about it, and felt, it's a sign of a batsman who knows his game, has confidence in it, and has been having success. Got to remember all that positivity. Bolt in, shouldering of arms, through to the keeper. Well judged leave in the end.
Yeah, it'll just be a case of him spending a tiny bit of time in the middle, wouldn't it? Like he came into this test series with some good form for Gloucester, and then suddenly, so 2 innings don't make you suddenly out of form, but everyone starts talking about it because you haven't scored a run in test cricket. And actually, just if you can just relax, get through this first 10-15 balls, then you'll suddenly realise, the ball is still hitting the middle of the bat.
Bracey with 1 run to his name outside the off stump, some lovely shape away from Bolt once more. I think I remember you saying at one point during your career, I may be out of runs, I don't feel like I'm out of form, I'm just out of runs.
Yeah, you can definitely get to a stage where you're actually hitting the ball quite nicely. Obviously he's going to be nervous here, and they keep showing him missing balls at the moment, but it's you can. There was a stage I remember I thought I was hitting the ball really well. I was hitting the ball, I just kept getting out. So I wasn't out of form,
Bolts in again to Bracey on off stump. He's forward. He defends up to mid-on, no run.
But my results are saying I worked from actually, but I felt pretty good in the middle, and then it was only a matter of time until the runs would come. But there was other times where, I might be getting 30 or 40, but all my rhythm and my tempo, and I had a lot of moving parts, and if they weren't in sync, my double backlift and my trigger movements, they weren't perfectly in sync. I found it hard, and sometimes you just, certainly 2010.
Bolt in, Bracey forward, bring that bat down really quickly. Length delivery on off stump, fielded by Conway, no run in the colours.
Yeah, 2010. Other times where I just felt terrible, whether I was batting the nets, when I was having throwdowns, almost hitting an underarm, it didn't feel good. And then you get out in the middle, and it all happens so quickly. You think, how am I going to score runs at all? Like you can't settle your mind, and it's you teach yourself, you try to calm yourself down, you try to relax, but the only way of doing it is gutsing it out. And
Bolt to Bracey down the leg side, and the keeper can't get hold of it. Blundell got a glove to it to take some of the pace off. It won't race to the boundary. Wagner runs across to pick up. Bracey gets down the far end by. Is signalled by the umpire. One more for England. Still 25 runs behind here though, and only 5 wickets in hand in their second innings. 60 for 5, and in all sorts of trouble. Andy?
Seen a lot of ducks from England's batsmen this year. Looking at England's top 7 in tests in 2021. It's the 8th test England have played. 18 ducks from the top 7. That is already, with a lot of test cricket left to play this year, the second most top 7 ducks England have ever had in a year of test cricket. Only 1998, when they had 27 ducks in 16 tests. They had a difficult series in the West Indies and a summer against South Africa and the start of an Ashes series in Australia that year. That's the only year in which England have had more top 7 ducks than they've already had in the first 8 tests this year.
Well, it's not a pond big enough for all those ducks. Yeah, it's a pretty torrid stat, that one. Bracey has at least avoided adding to it in this particular innings.
Yeah, it's hard to put a positive spin on that stat, is there?
Yeah, I can always hear the cogs whirring. How to talk that one away. Bracey facing up again, 60 for 5. Wagner over the wickets, full bit of a puff of dust as he came forward, and bat and pad close together, defending it into the offside, and no run. Did you have particular sort of techniques, Cookie, as to how you would think yourself into a positive frame of mind if you were going through a rough trot?
Not really, no. Obviously, what we end up doing is just trying to strip it down to concentrate on just the basics of batting. My 3 things just to concentrate on, because obviously your mind, if you're starting to do all this other stuff, you're forgetting the real basic of just watching the ball.
Wagner in now. Bracey on inside edge. It's outside the off stump. That squirts away towards the fine leg boundary. And behind square, swept up by Bolt down there. He's gone through for another single. He's on to 2, but he's struggling to find the middle of the bat.
Yeah, it's cases like you're trying to other techniques. You kind of complicate. For me, I was just trying to say, right, when I did my training, I was concentrating on the basics, on my 3 things: in my head position, in good position, am I hitting the ball straight, and am I getting my weight into the ball? If those 3 things are good, then I'd kind of move on from there. And then when I got into the middle, it was just about trying to survive 5 balls, then 10 balls.
Wagner to root and off stump, defending into the offside, no run. We could see Zach Crawley, I think in previous innings, is mouthing to himself to watch the ball, like the most simple of all messages. But it's a lot harder when you've got to do it out there in a test arena with all the pressure and the crowd and the match situation and all the expectation that you probably got on yourself. Root settling over his bat. 2 slips in the gully, extra cover. Catcher at short mid-wicket, leaning forward on his knees as Wagner bounds in and comes back into Root, manages to bring his bat down. And Wagner, there was a half, close to a half shout for LBW, fielded at mid-wicket though.
We've seen an illustration why Neil Wagner's been one of the finest bowlers in Test cricket in recent years. He's extracted more swing in both innings than any other bowler in the match, apart from Daryl Mitchell, a rather gentler medium pace, bowled a few overs in New Zealand's first innings, and in this innings he's swung it more, considerably more than any other bowler in the match apart from Mitchell.
That was a lovely in-swinger into the pads of Root just then. In once more, Root getting in behind it with the swing, well fielded at mid-wicket once more. It feels ever threatening here Wagner and England are going nowhere. They're trying to weather this accurate bowling, not really getting any let up. It's a pretty consistent and pretty suffocating at the moment. Jeremy Coney sat down alongside me. What a performance so far, Jeremy, with these wickets tumbling.
Yeah, it's
Wagner to Root. You can find that in swing once again, back up the pitch into the hand of Wagner. Let you give us your thoughts, Jeremy, on the situation, or whether you want to focus on how England are going to dig themselves out or how New Zealand are going to surge forward from here. But your thoughts, and then Ishigo are coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, Henry bowled extremely well with just prior to the break, picking up 2 wickets, and then since New Zealand have been back, the odd one is kept a little bit low. There's been some movement for the New Zealand bowlers. Henry picking up an LBW, Crawley, and then another LBW again with movement. I mean, it just shows you how valuable moving the ball either prior to bouncing or upon bouncing is. Wagner is getting it to go in the air.
So Isha's microphone's not on. Bracey has just stepped back and launched a majestic pull shot through the leg side for 4.
Yeah, it's short, wasn't it? Short from Bolt, and just stood up and whacked it away. There's no one protecting that boundary out there, sort of at wide mid-wicket. So good stroke from Bracey. He'll get a lot of confidence from that. Brought back on after 1 over from the spinner Patel, basically because I think Bolt bowls so nicely at left-handers, so he's coming in again past the umpire. This one's just angled straight back into Bracey. Draws a defensive stroke quite well behind it. 3 slips gully, backward point, mid-off. That's the offside field. And then, so that's 6-3 offside field, mid-on, just in front of square and fine leg. So New Zealand really have got wickets by movement. 1 from quite close up from the seam, from the surface of the pitch. Bolt bowls again outside the off stump. How are we going, Isha?
I'm good,
okay?
I'm back.
All the lights have gone red somewhere on the thing and said,
well, they were
please
red.
can we get Coney off ball by ball and for heaven's sake.
Houston, we have a problem.
It's all right. We've great to overtake the whole thing here at TMS. I'll be quiet now for now.
I was rather enjoying it, Jeremy. Thank you. As Bolt will continue from the Birmingham end. Here he comes, bowling to Bracey, who's backing across, beats him through to the keeper. Had a think about playing it off a good length and then just gradually pulled his bat in, but it was close to the outside edge. 3 slips in a gully in position then for him. And Joe Root, well, a tricky situation for the England captain with wickets falling around him. He's having to try and save this game, but also help navigate this innings for Bracey, who is early on in his Test career. 6 on the board as he allows that to pass outside the off stump. Comes down to do a bit of gardening, Joe Root, as James Bracey walks over to square leg. And New Zealand have ripped right through, Jeremy.
Yeah, they have. Burns, of course, has been in pretty good form, hasn't he, against New Zealand? But to get him first was a big bonus.
As Bolt is past the stumps to Bracey, clipping it out to deep backward square. Ajaz Patel in hot pursuit in front of the Holly stand as they come back for 2 and will settle for the 2 as Trent Bolt kicks the ground. Not happy with that delivery, slightly straighter on the pads as the score moves to 67 for 5. Bracey to 8, Root on 5 with England trailing by 18.
Yeah, I just wonder, it wasn't the best over really from Trent Bolt. He just wasn't sort of pinpoint as he sometimes is, and I suppose they'll look at it and say, look, all these overs on your legs will be very good for the next match. That's why we wanted you to play. Bolt was very keen to play and said so. came and arrived during that Lord's Test and had a bit of a bowl out on the nursery ground, and has carried on here. And I think he got better in the first innings with those overs, 20 odd overs in that first day.
Here comes Neil Wagner, bowling over the wicket to Joe Root from the pavilion end, covers his stumps. Nice solid defence to extra cover, no run off the front foot.
Root's been very, very sort of tight on his defence, hasn't he? He's been trying really hard. I mean, he's been in for quite a while now. He's 5.
Yeah. Gentle in swing from Neil Wagner. He's extracting, doesn't want to get his pads in the way of that. His open stance to the left armour, circles, moves forwards. Here he comes into his stride, bowling full to Root, who drives but miscues the ball as it is picked up by mid-off. Devon Conway there, no run.
Yeah, I thought Crawley's dismissal was a poor dismissal for a Test batsman, defending a left armour to cover. And his alignment is just not right. You've got to be slightly to a left arm. You've got to be who's swinging it back into you. You've got to be slightly open, don't you? So you play the ball back with the full face of the bat from where it comes. So basically coming around the wicket at you. You don't defend out to cover and get an edge and it goes through to the keeper.
A couple of bat taps for Root as he's back and across, driving straight. More of a push, really. It was a defensive shot, but then he just kept going with the bat as Conway comes around again at mid-off. In fact, it's Henry at mid-off now. They've switched sides. No run.
Pope lost his balance, didn't he, and fell just over slightly and was beaten by movement and into the pads. So there are some little issues, I think. I mean, Pope has still got that sort of I'm going to bat on middle and off, and it ends up with you playing across the ball because your bat's outside the stumps. You must play across it.
Wagner in again. Root playing it later and opening the face, playing the ball to Gully, a good length delivery on around the off stump. Walks off over towards square leg now. Joe Root looking over to the Holly stand. England's most experienced player in the top 6.
Sorry, I might have done Crawley a disservice. I think he was LBW, wasn't he? Yeah, sorry, it was Lawrence I meant that was defending it to cover. Apologies, Mr. and Mrs. Crawley.
As Wagner past the umpire, bowls down the leg side, in swinging delivery that Joe Root is able to connect with. He just helps it on its way as he picks up a boundary. 71 for 5 then for England as Root moves to 9. That was a bit of a freebie, trailing by 14. Searching for that magic delivery. It did go. Started it on middle and leg, and then it just kept going, really. That shape that we've seen from Wagner across the course of the couple of Test matches that we've been involved in. Glorious blue skies above as Wagner is in again. Good leave from Joe Root outside the off stump. It curved back in. Could have been in a lot of trouble if it had swung more than that. But he survived. 71 for 5 at the end of the over. Bracey on 8 and Root 9.
Yeah, well, I was quite keen on having a look at Patel, and I think Latham was also, just giving him the 1 over. A little bit floaty, a little bit full, but I think that the taking of the wicket of Lawrence, bringing in Bracey, I think that was the reason that he just wanted to use Bolt, because he has just a method about bowling to left-handers if he can get it right. Looks like they're going to go now. They've had enough of that experiment and thinking they're going to go back to Ajaz Patel. Left-hander, of course, he's going to be coming into the footmarks a little bit more of the right arm overs, bowling from this end. So there might be the odd target, not the first step of the follow through, but the second one, the right arm overs. So there's something there maybe for Patel to bring it back. I'd like to see a man on the leg side catching and attack the defence.
Slip in position. There will be a short leg. There's a man catching at mid-wicket. Backward point. Extra cover, mid-off, mid-on. A man the edge of the circle at mid-wicket and down at long leg. There's Ajaz Patel on bowl over the wicket to the left-handed Bracey on the back foot and defending back down the pitch. Trailing by 14 here, England, on day 3 with New Zealand to bat again. Patel through his action, short as Bracey's on the back foot once again, patting it back to the bowler. Mid-on moves slightly further back as Bracey with an open stance taps his bat down. Patel through, gets a sweep out and bowled! Ajaz Patel! It was the right move, as you say, Jeremy Coney. He gets the wicket straight away. James Bracey, well, his bad fortunes continue. He's furious with himself. He removes his helmet. He takes his gloves off with his teeth, and he looks up into the sky, looking to lap it round the corner, and it goes straight onto the stumps. He's out for 8, and England continue to go deeper into this hole. 71 for 6, trailing by 14.
Yeah, just a mistake really. Again, not a good option. The ball before turned a little bit more and into the pads from outside the off stump, and maybe he felt that he could actually go with the turn and get it round and control it, but it's passed, it's a bit flatter and a wee bit quicker and gone into the gloves, and he's actually almost swept it from the gloves onto his stumps. So, it's missed the bat completely, and sort of deceived by a wee bit of pace from the spinner. So now, I'm afraid for England, 71 for 6. I mean, New Zealand would have taken, I think probably when England would pass their deficit at say 3 down, but 6 down, that's a lot more. In conditions, let's be honest, folks, that it's a lovely day. It's a lovely sky blue day, and there's not much wind. It's a biscuit-coloured pitch, sort of hobnob, and there's not big marks on it at all. It will turn. You would think it would turn on day 5. It looks as if day 5 may not be needed. We'll just have to wait and see about that. There's been plenty of rearguard actions throughout the history of the game.
I like that, hobnob.
Well, just one side, because you can get those chocolate ones too. I don't mind them either, And I've got a feeling, I think
Andy might like them.
Andy might like them too.
You're pointing at him, aren't you? Yeah, the oat hobnobs.
Yeah.
I quite like those ones. Yeah. Well, this crowd, not a peep out of them in the last half an hour or so. I think they're all in a bit of shock at the moment. England 71 for 6. 23 overs remaining in the day, trailing by 14.
Well, if you go through the wickets one by one, you get Burns made a mistake probably with very early on in his innings, second ball having a crack at a drive, which was outside his off stump. It wasn't a ball, I think, to play. You either attack that ball, well, he tried to attack, or you leave it, and it was one to leave, I think, that early on in your innings. You could go with Sibley, again, squared up. The bottom hand coming a lot into play, got an edge as well. I'm not trying to undo the bowlers here, but because I think the bowling was reasonably tight and steady. Crawley, LBW to Henry, again one that beat the inside edge of the bat, came back, hit him on the back pad. Pope squared up again, fell over to the offside, beaten by movement into the pads. Lawrence, as I say, didn't have his alignment right for the left armour, and so he was caught and nicked it through to the keeper and defending and that was another error there, I think, from Bracey. He's got too far outside. He hasn't covered the ball with a second line of defence from his pads, and he's just ended up, just as I say, hitting it on the back of the ball almost as he's missed it, and onto the stumps from his gloves.
Anyway, you look at it, it's been a horrendous collapse from England.
So there's a lot of mistakes, isn't there in the 6 wickets to fall.
And I have to wait a little while before that first India test. There'll be a lot of changes for that, as Ollie Stone is in now facing Ajaz Patel, working the ball back down the pitch off the front foot, slipper in position and a short leg. Managed to hang around in that first innings, 20 or 52 deliveries for Ollie Stone, as he stuck around with Dan Lawrence. But it's a sorry-looking scorecard for England at the moment. Joe Root sitting on his bat at the other end as Patel is through. Stone defends. Left arm spinner wearing his shades. Ball in hand now as he comes through. The left armour leaves the ball outside the off stump. Ollie Stone gets to the end of the over. 71 for 6 England, trailing by 14. Root on 9. Stone getting through those 3 deliveries, and New Zealand delighted. I mean, this is the best scenario for them to be able to even try and have a couple of days off ahead of the Test Championship final.
Well, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, and 6 changes to this team. It's a second side in a way, isn't it? They're quite a competitive group of people, though, and they train hard. They've worked together a long time, so they know each other's games. I don't think they batted particularly well this morning. They lost 7 wickets. They can do better than that, and so that's something that they'll work on. But the bowling has been tidy, but England have been a wee bit culpable, I think, as well.
Here comes Wagner from the pavilion end to Root on the back foot, covering the off stump. He just marked his off stump guard, but set himself back up on that middling leg as he's back and across playing that shot. 2 slips in the gully in position for the England captain. 2 men back, leg side, as Neil Wagner is on his knee, looking at his right boot. I think he's okay as he walks back to the top of his mark. Devon Conway and Matt Henry parting as he walks past them. Here comes Wagner again on an angle. The left armour bowls to Root, who allows one to pass outside the off stump, getting gentle shape back into the right-hander. It's a lovely action, isn't it? The way he just arches into his delivery.
We've never seen him bowl like this in New Zealand. I mean, he does pitch up because he doesn't like to think of himself as a one-trick pony. You know, he likes to say, I can bowl properly too. But he's just kept this going here, and I think with the Duke's ball getting it to swing, he's got another way.
Wagner propels the ball towards the pads of Root, who's forwards and clipping out to deep square for 1. Moves to 10, England trailing by 13, 72 for 6 more. Live cricket follows us at around 7 p.m. on 5 Live Sports Extra, with commentary on Sussex Sharks against the Hampshire Hawks in the Vitality T20 Blast. We've got loads of cricket coming your way. The T20 squad announced today, of course. No Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer, Reece Topley due to injury, but a return for Chris Wokes for the first time in 6 years to the T20 lineup. David Willey also returns, and Liam Dawson, left-arm spinner from Hampshire. So the field's set for Stone. 2 slips in a gully. Mid-on quite wide, mid-off wide as well. And with a wicket that's more in front of square, and a leg gully in position with the man down at fine leg. Here comes Wagner, pushes away, bowls wide of the off stump as Stone lets it go. All building towards that T20 World Cup at the end of the year, of course. Owen Morgan will be leading that side, Joss Buttler the vice captain, all the usual suspects in amongst the group: Moeen Ali, Adil Rashid, the Curran brothers, Johnny Bairstow, Jason Roy. Wagner shuffles forwards. Bowls edged, falls in front of second slip as they'll hustle through for a single. Tom Latham misjudging the ball, and it hit his hand and had to be retrieved by Ross Taylor as they come through for 1. Stone off the mark then, 73 for 6.
What do we think that decision not to chase on the final day at Lord's is looking now for England? Playing it safe.
You know what I think about that.
Yeah, there were two ways to play it. There is the argument that Joe Root, the most experienced out of that top six, he stands now with an open stance, working it past mid-wicket to Widish mid-on, who comes around to take the ball. Matt Henry there. No run at the end of the over. Looking to protect his players ahead of this game. There was a feeling that England should have showed more intent at Lord's. Anyway, we'll have Aggers here to discuss it more as he's going to come in. More from you, Jeremy.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Isha. Well, I mean, Wagner has, as I say, just adopted this pitching up and getting the ball to swing, the Duke's ball here in this tour. It's very different. I'd like to see him occasionally just trying the odd short one, just to sort of push, especially if batsmen start coming forward to you. So you start playing with they can't keep coming at you all the time. I mean, in New Zealand do have another left armer who's a swing bowler, so I don't think we really need two of them, if you know what I mean, that he can still go short and hard at him. Now, let's see, of course, to the right-hander, Patel has to land on the better part of the pitch.
In he comes, couple of paces, bowls a Stone, a bit of a flourish there. He flicks the ball away behind square on the leg side, he'll get two. England at the moment is trying to make New Zealand bat again. They're now 12 behind, is that right? 73 for 6. Very ignominious performance this is. It's Patel bowls and finds an edge. And New Zealand basically has been all over England, haven't they, from the start, really. So the first session, Sibley and Burns battled away, but since then, and in every department they've been better. It's interesting looking at some graphics of the bowling. It's Stone on the back foot. New Zealand have bowled half a metre.
Fuller? Yes.
So a couple of feet doesn't sound a lot, but it's crucial when it comes to swing bowling. And you think, well, why have they swung the ball more than we have? Because they pitched it up. And it's there. You can't argue with the graphic. Stone plays off the front foot. It's fielded at short leg.
Catching
is brilliant, isn't it?
Well, it's been much more accurate than England.
Yeah, it's been outstanding. And you feel them there in the slip cord, waiting for a catch. Patel again spears this one in, and Stone is forward. Picked up at point, and England got a real issue. I mean, they don't play Test cricket now until the first week in August, but there's a lot of one-day cricket to come for them to savour up to them, which is not really the answer for England's Test batting lineup. What are they going to do? 75 for 6. Patel round the wicket, bowls, Stones on the back foot. Picked up at short leg. It ends the over. Yeah, England 10 runs behind. 75 for 6. Stone has 3. Root has 10 from 55 balls.
Yes, he's digging in, isn't he?
Well, he's just clinging to the wreckage.
Yes, I know. So you'd expect lots of changes before.
I don't know. It's such a strange summer again, isn't it? It's a huge gap for England.
Yes.
In which it's almost predominantly T20 cricket, or 100, of course. And then they play India, and the India series leads into the Ashes as far as England's concerned. So what do? Because if you do make changes, you think that looking ahead, they've got to be changes with Australia in mind. So are those players going to be good enough? Are they going to negotiate an India series and still be in the team to go to Australia? Wagner's on his way, it's swinging in, and Root clips him away out to deep square leg. Wagner's absolutely flat on his face there. He bowled himself off his feet. But can't keep batting like this. Wagner, I think, is calling for that groundsman's piece of equipment, the damper, to come and do something with his footholds. He's been digging around in there for much of the day. Joe Root's having a very close inspection, and now there's a sign. I'm not sure. Well, a sign from umpire Illingworth could be misinterpreted, I think, but I think he's saying that he wants the damper brought out. Oh, tamper, is it not a damper?
It's a tamper.
It's a tamper. That's a damper.
Yes.
Well,
that's something you eat, isn't it? Isn't damper kind of something you, certainly in New Zealand, you cook it, it's almost like a very large scone kind of thing that you have when you're camping. So it's got flour and it's got things like that in it, and it's cooked a little bit. And
that would go quite nicely in the footholes, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
Tampa, so here it comes anyway. A chap running out in his shorts with basically, it's essentially a bit of sort of scaffolding really, with a metal end on it. And he's got his shovel. He'll dig around in there for a while and make Wagner feel better.
Just a little more on Wagner's versatility as a bowler. This series is the second fullest that he's pitched the ball in any series that he's played in. The only series he's pitched it fuller on average was where the ball has bounced in 2013 in a series in England early in his career. And looking at all pace bowlers in the 5 years leading up to this series, no bowler had pitched the ball shorter than Wagner, and he's come here with a completely different technique and been hugely successful with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's swung a ball as much as any, and he has this reputation for obviously bowling short pitch, because there might have been an argument looking at whether Henry's bowled well, Henry stroke Wagner. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, but actually the way he's bowled, and he does bring that extra dimension of the short stuff.
Yes, he does.
So you'd have to say he's proved his point, I think, hasn't he?
Well, he has.
Well, I mean, Henry's bowled beautifully.
Oh yeah, Henry's. I've been impressed with Henry.
Yeah.
He hasn't had many Test matches, Aggers, and he's been around this team a long time. In has come Wagner, so he's had to drop out of that, and then in has come Jameson, so he's been pushed back a couple of times. He doesn't get many chances, but I think he's a very useful sort of backup as a shoulder, hit the track hard, seam it a little bit, and he's got the first 3 wickets to fall here today.
6 for 106 in the match, only the third time in his 14 tests he's taken 6 wickets. One more will be his best match haul. I mentioned earlier in the game his record in England in first class cricket, now 123 wickets, average 19.6.
Right, Wagner's sorted out and he's on his way again bowling, and clipped away by Stone. A pad involved as well, and fielded at square leg. 76 for 6. England are effectively -9 for 6. They won the toss, chose to bat first, and they're in a real old mess. Drop catches, certainly below par first innings batting performance, but taking nothing away from New Zealand, who've been outstanding. Wagner goes in and bowls, and back goes Stone again, playing to mid-on with so many missing, not least the captain at Southey.
And the selection too just has to come into it a wee bit, doesn't it? If you bat first and therefore bowling last, you'd think a spinner would come into play at Edgbaston.
Yeah.
Surely.
There's been some distracted decisions, I think, made at the start of this summer. Lots of focus on all sorts of things, but the whole IPL business needs to be looked at. In goes Wagner, bowls swinging in, played down to mid-on, because people really care. People care. People will be angry about this. Talked about the big year coming up, and India on their way, and well, they're here already, but the series on their way, and then Australia. This is not the way to start the summer. That really strange performance at Lord's last week, with total lack of ambition and energy, and then followed by this. Trouble is, it's no real surprise that this followed that, because you could tell at the time there wasn't that focus at Lord's. In goes Wagner, bowls short, and Stone on the back foot plays that to mid-off. You can't just switch it on, and if you're in that very defensive, rather negative mindset, and you can produce a performance like this when the pressure's on you, and New Zealand have been brilliant at doing that. 76 for 6. Every now and then you have a little distraction, a little sideshow though in our wellness room behind here, and in goes Wagner again, swinging in, and Stone is forward. And the latest for me has been seeing Phil Tufnell trying to file his latest COVID test.
Please, it's so stressful. It's so stressful. I've got about 4 helpers in there.
I know.
And
even your wife on the phone was trying to get it sorted out.
Why is it always me?
I don't know, Tuffers. I don't know.
I'm going to get that T-shirt that Balotelli got and lift it up. Why is it always me? Used to be a footballer, John.
Yes, yeah.
But I think we're going to get there slowly.
Yeah, well,
I'm
I hope
looking-
so, because I hope we're going to be there. Well, I haven't done mine yet. I've got to have my go at mine tonight. It's a bit of an ordeal.
It's an ordeal for me, and I'm not even trying to do it.
No.
But I want to get down and watch that, because we're going to see two very, very good
Yep,
sides,
we
I
are.
think. And it's going to be enjoyable.
Should be a really good game
Yeah.
of cricket.
No messing about.
No. Patel's continuing to bowl to Root, a left arm spinner. Patel, who's taken a wicket. Horrible dismissal of Bracey. Predetermined sweep. Bowled in middle stump. There was a little bit of bat involved. It was an ugly dismissal. Patel round the wicket, then bowls, and Root leans forward, blocks another one.
Oh, I've got
57 balls for his 11.
I've got my verification code.
Oh, that's great news.
Yes, it is great news.
So what has to happen now? It's Patel again bowls, and this is run away off the back foot down to backward point. I should explain that there's so many different types of tests that we're taking. We've got
Yeah, this is slightly different, this one, John.
Yes.
You've got to snap it off in the bottom.
Oh,
yes, no, I know, yeah. And put the lid on it.
I just got the hang of the other one.
Yeah, no, this is slightly different. There's a
Right.
little bit more to it.
Root forward, plays into the offside. Basically, for England test matches like this, the auspices of the ECB, the good old NHS flow test has sufficed, and we've taken, 3 of those, I think,
Yeah.
to get here. It's the same as the public have to take before they can come in and watch, basically. Here goes Patel again, bowls, and that's pushed away by Root. But for the ICC one,
Yeah, it's
a new app, it's a new
bit posher.
It's a new test kit.
Yeah.
And all sorts of different things are going to be sent off. And
Got like a test tube that you
right.
snap it
I've not looked at
into.
mine yet.
No. Yeah.
But anything to avoid Roland from last year, though.
Oh, Zorro, well, as we called it.
We're doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, Roland lined you up and sort of impaled it.
Yeah. Like fencing, he was. On guard. He was a good man.
Patel bowls, it's shorter, and Root, so is it caught behind? They're appealing, and Root's walking off. A dismal moment.
Oh.
A short ball outside the off stump, and that is a seriously dejected figure.
It is.
Walking from the ground and barely moving as he does so. Short ball outside the off stump, and Root's gone to force it away. He's barely played an attacking shot in this innings of 11. But he's gone after this. It hasn't turned. It might just have bounced a little bit more, but he's edged it to the keeper. And he knew. He didn't wait for the umpire's decision, although he did give him out. And Joe Root is still walking off.
Trudging off.
11 from 61 balls. So out of character, that innings.
Well, he's just trying to get stuck in, isn't he?
Yeah.
While everything was falling apart in front of his eyes, and that is probably one of the most dejected walks off I've seen from Joe Root.
Yep.
He looked down, didn't he? He trudged off. Well, England's still 9 behind, John.
Well,
And Mark Wood's coming to the crease. They can't get bowled out today, surely.
I think there's every chance.
Well, I think there is as well. There's only, Wood, Jimmy and Broady.
Yeah, they can go through to 7 o'clock.
Well, I think it could be curtains. I really do. 3 days?
3 days having won the toss and batted first.
Yes. Sorry. Screaming a little bit there. Yes. Batted first on a belter. Nothing in the pitch, really. I mean, they've bowled beautifully, New Zealand, just in good channel and good areas, hasn't it? And we've just obliged, so to speak.
76 for 7. Mark Wood arrives. Ollie Stone offers him some sort of words of comfort. It's not doing very much, Woody. Oh, look at the score.
Yeah, 76.
No, I promise you, it's not doing anything. Play straight. Get your head down. Let's see it through to the close. That's all you can say, isn't it? Hope it rains tomorrow.
Well, and the day after.
And the day after.
Maybe a 3-dayer.
Slip and a gully and a short leg. And Patel is on his way. He's taken 2 wickets. And Wood is forward to the first ball. He played very well in the first innings, mind you. And that's fielded at cover. Right, should we have Root's stats there? Because 11 from 61 balls.
1-4.
1-4.
Patel in the match has now taken 4 for 36 from 18 overs. 4 wickets, 2 cuts, edge to the keeper, and 2 sweeps. So I don't think England have played him very well, really, Tuffers.
Well, no, I mean, the cuts is, I mean, I suppose sometimes it can be a bit unfortunate, can't you? See one there, it just bounces a bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, the cut shot to a shortish delivery, perhaps he's done them in the flight a bit, and, perhaps a bit too close, and bounced a bit. Yeah, but it's a handy option, a spinner, isn't it?
76 for 7. Wagner's on his way, and he bowls short outside the off stumper, flailing back from Stone. He might as well have a go, but no contact made. I went flying through to the keeper. What do you do? It's a horrible situation. You bat in this situation down in the nether regions of the order when the game's done. You know it's done.
Yeah, you have a go. You swing and entertain the crowd because they're not going to be here tomorrow probably.
Yeah.
You may as well give them a bit of something to cheer. Try and get a few away and get yourself a quick 20 or 30.
All
But you
those
never know.
people-
You never know.
all those
Sorry,
people
that was
have
very
tickets for
defeatist
tomorrow,
of me. It was
Tuffers.
very defeatist of me. Sorry.
Wagner again, left arm over, bowls short and Stone up on his toes. There'll be people listening now who've got tickets for tomorrow. First
fourth day. It's
live
gonna be
cricket for so
glorious as
long.
well.
They're not going to. Well, you might see something, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be stuff that keeps you on the edge of your seats, I'm afraid.
Well, if Joe was still there, you would have thought, perhaps a couple of partnerships, a couple of 50 partnerships might get you something to bowl at. But you just can't see it happening with the personnel at the crease and in the hutch.
Stone's on 3. Wagner runs in and he bowls to him. It's down the leg side, well taken by Blundell, tumbling to his left. It's a man at leg slip. It's a short mid-wicket. Couple of slips. Burns 0, Sibley 8, Crawley 17, Root 11, Pope 23, Lawrence 0, Bracey 8. Those dismissed. And it's 76 for 7, so still 9 behind. It's Wagner, left arm over, runs up and bowls. The ball swings into Stone. And Conway will field that running to his right from mid-off. The crowd, even in the Hollies stand, I think, is stunned into silence. They came here, they've given such vocal support throughout the day. But it's very deflated over there.
Yeah.
People just sitting down, there's not much standing up and chanting and shouting.
I think there might be a few flea in the ears of the England players tonight.
They might. Wagner with 2 balls left in the over, bowls, and Stone again plays an attractive looking shot, but hits mid-off.
England's lowest total against New Zealand at home previously, 126 all out, was at Edgbaston in 1999, so they've got a way to go before they avoid that ignominy.
And was that the match before they got booed at the Oval? When
No, man, I played in that. Didn't Alex Tudor get 99? Perhaps not.
Yes, that was the game England won.
Yeah, England won that one.
Yeah.
In goes Wagner. Bowls, swinging in a lovely, almost a Yorker, which presumably just got a little nick on, or Wagner would have been appealing for leg before wicket. 76 for 7. And all sorts of options for New Zealand here, not least the extra half hour they could take to wrap this up in 3 days. And I wouldn't necessarily bet against that from happening. Tuffers, more thoughts from you, and then Alison Mitchell's going to come in and cheer everybody up.
Yes, it's been a chastening afternoon for England and the English supporters. Can't take anything away from New Zealand. They have been first class. They have been top class. Not only with the bat and getting that 70 or 80 lead, but then also have come out with the ball and just been right on it, Alec. It's been a chastening afternoon for England and the English supporters. Can't take anything away from New Zealand. They have been first class. They have been top class. Not only with the bat and getting that 70 or 80 lead, but then also have come out with the ball and just been right on it, Alec.
There's a lot of pressure Agger's just put on me to cheer everybody up in the face of 76 for 6.
Tell us a joke.
Here we go then. It's sunny. In goes Patel, and covering up Wood back up the pitch into the hands of the bowler. No run.
Try to cheer people up by saying it was 76 for 6 instead of 76 for 7, so that's one.
Yes.
Sorry.
I feel better already.
You're right. 7 down, and Patel is around the wicket. Wood forward, the outside half of the bat was ballooning in the air a touch towards cover, but no peril. 2 slips in the short leg. Amazing, isn't it, Tuffers, when we arrived at the ground this morning? New Zealand 2:29 for 3 they were. And it was all about, well, it could go either way, but we didn't expect it to go this far either way. Well, that's a lovely shot from Wood, in fact, behind square on the offside, carving it away down to the Holly stand for 4. That's cheered them up, giving them something to leap up out of their seats for. There's been very little in the last few hours.
Yeah. Good shot there, though, by Mark Wood. A little bit short, a little bit wide.
Well, if anything, the crowd might enjoy seeing a little bit of Mark Wood that we had on which morning? Morning 2, wasn't it?
Yes, I totally
Yesterday
agree.
morning.
I think that's
feels like a long time ago because so much has happened.
I think we should try and do that as well.
Fields moving in here, a flick attempt down the leg side. He wasn't able to make contact into the gloves of the keeper.
So I think Matt Henry might come on soon.
Patel, around he goes again. Wood looking for an expansive drive, doesn't get hold of it, up to mid-off, finds the fielder and no run.
Yeah, make a bit of hay when the spinner's on, entertain the crowd.
Yeah, need something to applaud and cheer even in the face of likely demise. Wood, is it popped up, is it back pad? There's an appeal for a short leg catch, but no response from the umpire, and Patel takes his cap from Henry and heads off into the deep. 80 for 7. Another 16 overs left in the day. England are still 5 runs behind. New Zealand were all out for 388 if you did miss any of the action today, and boy, there has been an awful lot of it.
I should have been a captain, you know.
You should have been a captain.
Yeah, Matt Henry's coming on.
Oh, there you go.
just had it in the head.
Did you ever?
No.
Any time close school?
A couple of times. It was. There's quite a lot to it, you know. There is quite a lot to it, but even I could see that this bowling change was on the cards.
Neil Wagner's spell, 8 overs, 1 maiden, 2 for 15. Patel currently has 2 for 6. Henry with his first spell, 3 for 28.
Yeah, he's been standout. The new boy was wonderful, wasn't he? So accurate.
But also got it just to move off the seam as well. I can't really remember too many of them moving off the seam for the England bowlers, you know. He bowled wonderfully well. Broke the back of that.
He's bowling to Stone with 2 slips and a gully. Right arm over, and has he got the edge behind? No, he's beaten the bat. And sees Stone wander off towards square leg, but that's just a sign of the quality. First ball, exact same length and channel that we've seen from him so many times, that little bit of nip.
He's just lived. He's built a house on off stump, or the top off, hasn't he? He's lived there all day.
Brought his tent and pegged it down.
He did.
Bounding in again, Henry, inside half of the bat towards square leg.
Made camp on offside.
It was his delivery that dismissed Rory Burns out for a 2-ball duck. That was the first England wicket to fall in this second innings. Sibley made just 8, caught by Mitchell at third slip. Henry again, third wicket also. Henry had Crawley, LBW. Crawley had played a couple of nice looking drives, made only 17, very tentative in between times. Henry in, middle stump, turned to short mid-wicket, and there is no run. Root, it was a sort of tortured innings. It was difficult to watch at times. Really talking of pegs, he was rather pegged back and pinned down, and in the end Patel getting him, ball taken outside edge, catch by the keeper. 11 off 61 balls for Joe Root. Ollie Pope had looked really busy for his 23. He was LBW to Wagner. Henry in, swinging, that's been driven backward of square drive, and Stone picks up a boundary. The field is largely up, only fine leg that's back, a thump of the gloves, and again something for the Edgbaston crowd to cheer.
Yes, bit of width that time from Henry. Ollie Stone throws the bat at it, and why not?
It means England are only 1 behind.
Yes, that's
1 behind.
Well, that's the first step on a fantastic recovery somehow.
Well, they would much rather be 1 behind and only 1 wicket down. Stone facing up again to Henry, forward, looking to drive once more, doesn't quite time it. Bolts Fields at mid-on. He's got Henry's cap tucked down the back of his trousers, his own black cap firmly perched on his own head, sunglasses glinting, perched on top of the cap. And Henry Just composed, easy run up. And he goes now, he's there. Bowles once more, full swinging in, inside edge onto the bottom of Stone's pad. It's fielded on the offside. No run, and England, well, they stay 7 down, but 1 behind, staring at defeat, which, well, New Zealand always had a big opportunity in this game with the wickets they took on day one. Consider they had England 175 for 6. Bit of a recovery from England to get up to the 300 mark. But
won the toss, remember, England.
Yeah. It's a big part of this, isn't it? Won the toss, opted to leave out Jack Leach. But it's really, that's been part of the story. But the biggest part of the story has been the batting.
Yep.
Particularly through this second innings.
Yeah, it's a recurring theme, isn't it, at the moment? The batting.
What to be done about it? One day cricket to be played before the India series starts. New over, Patel to Wood. Around the wicket he goes. Wood's forward. He's beaten past the outside edge and into the gloves of the keeper. 2 slips back in place. Gully there as well.
Good ball spun off the straight, at middle and off. That didn't come out of foot-hole, that just ragged.
Patel in, quicker once more, and Wood is forward. Patel leans forward to pick up off his own bowling. And no run. I think there'll be some sort of either sympathetic or an ironic cheer when England reach parity.
Yes, perhaps that might wake the Hollies up, give them something to cheer.
In goes Patel. Wood, expansive shot. Oh, he's lofted this. A heave over the leg side. How much has he got on that? Has it gone for 6? Yes, it has. Well, that does take England beyond New Zealand. They lead by 5. They may be 7 wickets down, but the crowd are on their feet around Edgbaston.
You never know.
First 6 of the match.
Well, I think there's times when you do know. But, well, within a game, there are certainly moments to lift and to cheer the heart, and that was one of them.
Well, if Mark Wood hits another 20 of those, another 20 of those, it might give us half a sniff.
And the crowd is enjoying seeing, a little bit of counter punch somehow. Conversation between. I think that might have been a bit of distribution of hand sanitizer, actually. The fielder who chased that back. Wood is driving once more. Another expansive looking shot, this time straight to short extra cover. Picks out Conway. And no run. So England suddenly 90 for 7. A slender lead of 5, but New Zealand are into the tail. Patel in again. Wood coming forward carefully, defends back up the pitch. Momentous really for New Zealand to have surged ahead in such a way. And looking for only, remember, their 3rd ever series win in England in Test matches. Patel in again, and Wood will flicker the wrists to work it into the gap on the onside. Goes through for 1 off the last ball of the over, so he'll keep the strike, and I think the crowd will enjoy that because of the 2, having seen the way Mark Wood breezed his way into that 41 he made it 41 off 80 balls, but as a rapid, it was the 25 off 21 on the second morning that really entertained the crowd. Mexican wave, is that? I think they're trying to start Mexican wave down at the far end of the ground. It's a sign of a crowd who need a little bit more to entertain them at the moment, because the England team themselves are not providing it.
No, but there is a lead. That's what they've got to think to themselves. They've got to think to themselves, well, come on, we can get a 50 partnership. Brody comes in, high score of 167 or whatever it is. You can get a 50. Give yourself something like 150 to 120 perhaps lead. And
well, I'm liking your optimism.
Well, yes, come on. Why not? Let's do
anything it. Anything is possible in this game, that we do know.
Yeah.
Deep square leg has gone back onto the fence as Henry is in, and he's struck on the pad, but fancy going down. He was angled across him, veering down that leg side. Henry 3 for 32, his figures. 9.1 overs of excellent, accurate seam and swing. Wood standing stock still as he's waiting for Henry to come in. The crowd lift themselves in a Mexican wave, and Wood's up on his toes, angles this one down towards cover, and there's no run. It's a bit of a feeble Mexican wave, this one.
Yeah, it's a bit limp.
I don't think enough of the crowd are aware of its presence.
It's a 91 for 7 Mexican wave, I think.
Yeah.
Surprised it hasn't quite reached the Holly stand yet. It's being started across the opposite side of the ground. Might well start their own. Wood facing up again, taps his bat against the ground. Henry's in, firing in a Yorker on his toes. He's dug it out, Wood, scampering through for one, and a tumbling stop by Trent Boult, who's then on all fours, crawling towards the ball to retrieve. And Wood's got down the far end for one. It's got to be a battling effort from England from here now. The Mexican wave is picking up a touch.
A bit more enthusiasm. It's been a long, hot day for the crowd as well, isn't it?
And tomorrow's, I think, meant to be in the high 20s.
It's going to be a belter tomorrow.
There might not be much cricket being played tomorrow. New Zealand could claim an extra half hour tonight if they feel they can finish it off. Henry in, back of a length, and that's reared up quite nastily to Stone. Walking away towards square leg. It wasn't a bouncer as such, it's an awkward length.
Yeah, just might have just gone through the top a little bit there. Was there a puff of dust there? No.
Oh, it's gone right on the chest and then up into the grill.
Yeah, awkward.
A nasty one.
Good length for a tail end of that.
Henry setting off again. Sun suddenly dipped behind a cloud. Yeah, it's been bright and sunny. Another full ball, trying to hone in on that off stump. Almost pushing it up towards a Yorker length at 81 miles per hour. And Stone digs it out once more. Well, certainly questions for Chris Silverwood as coach, who has full responsibility for selection.
Oh yes, forgot about that.
Spinner has certainly been the talking point. There is a short ball. He almost gloved it to the keeper. Went for the hook shot, missed it. But fortunately for him, didn't make any contact as it goes through.
That whistled through, didn't it? It seemed to gather pace off the pitch.
Real liveliness at the end of the over. 92 for 7. Then England really very easily could have gloved that. Now our commentary continues on 5 Live Sports Extra, digital radio online and via the BBC Sounds app, but our Radio 4 long wave listeners are leaving us briefly for the shipping forecast. Do you think they'll come back?
Hope so.
I hope they do. The lead is 7. England's lead is 7, but New Zealand are searching for the last 3 wickets to then surge towards a rare and valuable, highly sought after test win, series win. Patel in, use the feet, back down the ground. Lofted shot from Mark Wood. Well, this pair are not done yet, and it's heartening to see.
Yeah, good shot by Mark Wood. Good use of the feet. Slightly tossed up from Patel. Got to the pitch of the ball and just belted it back over his head. Yeah, good shot. If England are going to get some kind of score, I think that's going to have to be the way they're going to get there, by playing a few shots and getting a bit lucky.
Might just spread the field a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still slipping short leg, and he's going back looking to cut, and he's cutting well. Finally, out to the Holly stand for 4. Wonderful batting from Wood. He's moved on to 20 off 18. The lead's up to 15.
Yeah, short and a bit wider. It's amazing what can happen to the spin bowler when you use your feet and hit a 6. Just drop that one a little shorter onto it like a flash, Mark Wood.
Yeah, he set himself well.
Yeah, he's playing well, hasn't he?
The Nuns appreciated that. They were signalling 4 all the way in the Hollies. Patel in again. Forward comes Wood. It brought the 100 up for England as well. In terms of celebrating every milestone that you can, England first staggered to parity. Now made it to the 100 mark. The lead is 15. Patel in. Wood covering up that time, playing more carefully to the offside.
Watchful. He's got a good arm ball. Patel. One that just goes straight on and doesn't spin.
And he comes again. Sunglasses on, a little more air, driving, but only as far as short extra cover. 20 off 21. And it'll be very frustrating for New Zealand if these two can put on a partnership to hold them off. I mean, difficult to see them getting anything. It's going to trouble New Zealand now. There's a half appeal for LBW. It's how long they can stay out there. I mean, there's pride at stake, isn't there? It's just, let's not roll over. Let's just show a little bit more fight, even from the lower order.
Yeah, well, they'd appreciate a couple of days off with the
New Zealand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for them if they can wrap
Feet
things up today.
Yeah.
Extra incentive to do that.
Yeah, recuperate and get a bit of a rub down tomorrow and get ready for India down at Southampton. So they want to get it done sharpish or as quick as possible as well.
Yeah, well, it should be a cracker of a match, really.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, India away from home and in New Zealand away, but in conditions that are more, to their liking. They've had more of a stern warm-up, playing Test cricket in the build-up.
Yep.
The women's test in Bristol as well, so India's men and women are going to be in action at the same time. I'm heading down to Bristol for that one. Here is Henry, new over. Defended into the offside, no run. We do welcome back our Radio 4 long wave listeners. I'm glad you came back to Edgbaston. But Mark Wood, scythed one away towards the Hollies for 4. Played a couple of sumptuous strokes. He's 20 off 22 balls. England's lead 15. 100 for 7. New Zealand still searching for these last few wickets. The Lobsters haven't got any redder during the day, Tuffers.
Oh, I bet they will later on tonight.
In goes Henry full, looking to drive, and Stone very quickly setting off for the single sliding stop from Wagner at mid-off, and they're safely through for 1.
Be a few pink cheeks walking home, I think. After hasn't got a lot of protection, has it, the Hollies?
No, I think if you're in the back 10 rows,
you're all right.
You're afforded a little bit of shade.
Yeah.
But not much in the rest of it.
No, make sure you put your sun cream on.
Yep. Shirts, hats, factor 50 man, factor 30 man.
I'm afraid so, yeah. After too many days in the field.
Henry swinging into the pads of Wood, back up the pitch.
Yeah, got a few little funny areas have appeared. Getting them all looked after.
Well, sort of all too many cricketers often later, long after they finish their careers, actually.
No, it's
find
crucial.
Problems with skin cancer developing.
Well, I always saw a day in the field as chopping up the tan,
Yeah.
But no.
Culturally, things change, don't they?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Awareness.
Yes, exactly.
Henry running into Wood. There's a short ball, and he's shaped as if to try and uppercut it, very close to the body. A mixture of a sway and an uppercut, and in the end didn't make contact and through to the keeper. He almost could have tipped it over the bar.
Yep.
He likes a bit of football, doesn't he, Wood?
Yeah, just got a little nudge on it.
Very much shaped to tip all that over. Keeper, slip cordon. It was quite fun watching the fast bowlers bowl to the fast bowlers. Wood awaits. Here goes Henry over the wickets. Fuller this time, and he's defending solidly. It's mid-off. Finds Wagner, and no run. Bit of evening sunlight now. Shadows starting to lengthen as we move. We tick round to 6 o'clock now. I think we could be in for a bit of a longer session tonight with New Zealand on the hunt here.
Yeah.
Officially 12 overs remaining in the day.
And then another
half hour.
Yeah, which is what, another 6 or 7 spinner bowls. Perhaps.
Yeah, they keep Patel on. Would keep New Zealand at bay. Clipped to short mid-wicket. Ball angled in on that leg stump. 101 for 7 at the end of the Henry over. So Stone remains on 8. Wood is 20 not out, but he's helped to entertain the crowd a little bit. What more has he got? Late in the evening here at Edgbaston. A few words from Andy Zaltzman and then Daniel Norcross coming in.
Well, some consolation for England. They're not the only team that have stunk the place out in a test match this week. West Indies have just gone down by an innings and 63 in St Lucia at home against South Africa. South Africa's first test tour of the West Indies for a decade, or just over a decade, I think. West Indies 97 all out. South Africa made 322 with a career best 141 not out from wicketkeeper Quinton de Kock. And then West Indies bowled out for 162 with 5 wickets for their wonderful Kagiso Rabada.
That's not ideal, is it, for them? 101 for 7, a pretty abject performance here as well by England, you'd have to say.
We've got a lead.
Patel is in to Stone, and Stone gets a thick inside edge on this and runs down to Bolt at backward point. I think you've got to give a lot of credit to New Zealand. They've sort of picked away at the scabs of England's techniques, haven't they?
Yeah.
That's how they've done it, and they've been remorseless in the doing of it. Patel is in. That's punched off the back foot There's no run. Things also went their way. A marginal LBW decision for Pope, but he had a bat. He didn't hit the ball.
Bowled well, haven't they? They've bowled well.
Bowled well. Crawley's technique has been exposed. Sibley's technique's been exposed by bowling in the right lines for those players. Patel in, and Stone drives back to him. There's no run. 101 for 7. The lead 16. Wood 20. Stone has 8. They've just been by far and away the better side as Patel comes in. Stone places on the bounce to short leg. A question I might put to you though,
go on,
Phil, is this partly why England should have had a little go at it last week at Lord's, to set the tone, to sort of give themselves a bit of confidence, a bit of joie de vivre? They've sort of they set out their stall in a rather negative and timorous way last week. Stone drives, brilliantly stopped at short extra cover by Latham. They are remorseless, New Zealand. That looked for all the world like it was heading up to the extra cover boundary, and he just dived full length left-handed, and he's close in at short extra cover as well. Next delivery, Stone defends into the onside to short mid-wicket. That is the end of the over. Patel's 8th, he has 2 for 21. England 101 for 7.
I think
Stone 8, Wood 20.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I think New Zealand picked up on that, haven't they? They've picked up on that and run with it like an All Black would. And they've seen England just a bit shaky, and they've been all over that. Yeah, so I think you're right. If there had just been a bit more body language at Lord's, and this is what we were all saying, weren't we? We weren't saying they've got to go for it, but just a bit more body language, a bit more intent.
Well, that first session, they end up hitting 46 runs off the bat in 33 overs. If they've hit 75 runs off the bat in 33 overs, suddenly there's just something happening. And instead, England have just found themselves in a hole, and they've dug deeper and deeper. And they'll point to the fact they're missing players, but this top 3 is the top 3 they were probably intending to use through the season, and Pope and Lawrence are sort of vying for a place when Stokes comes back in.
I can assure you India will be watching this.
Well, I'll be licking the lips. Absolutely indeed. So it'll be tough. There'll be tough questions for Root and the players to answer afterwards, as Henry starts a new over, full, defended on the front foot by Wood. There's no run. Let me talk you through the likely scenarios for today. It's 6:05 now, so under normal circumstances 6:30 is a cut-off, but a side can claim or ask for the extra half an hour if they think a result is possible. And by possible, I don't mean it could be done with 3 wickets in an over and then 10 and over. So I think what we'll find is that if England lose no more than 1 more wicket coming up to 6:30,
they'll ask for it. I think they'll ask for it anyway.
Well, I think at 6:30,
you've got to get runs.
You've got to get those runs back. You see,
correct.
Henry's in, and that's defended by Wood. Back to the bowler. There's no run. 2 England bowlers here have been out there for a while. When did they come together, Andy? Because they've had their defensive techniques tested, and they've managed so far.
Came together in the 26th over, so the partnership now 25 and 8.5 overs.
Thank you.
Making it look pretty simple as well. Playing nicely, these two.
They are. Henry in, short, pulled beautifully by Wood. Down to deep backward square leg on the bounce for a single. It was a lovely shot.
How good a shot is that? I think he's been practicing, hasn't he?
He batted very well in the first innings. I mean, it was only yesterday, wasn't it, when we were seeing him play these marvellous shots. And, I feel for so many people who've got tickets for tomorrow.
We were saying earlier.
Well, I was contacted by a dear friend, Daisy Christodoulou, who won University Challenge.
Oh, I say.
Very smart. And she loves her sport. She loves her football. Loves her cricket. And she's enraged, really.
Is she?
Because, it's a beautiful sunny day tomorrow planned, and she's not going to get that day, she doesn't think, as this short ball climbs and goes through to Blundell. Obviously,
not much of it.
Extraordinary things can happen. You never know. Yeah. But you'd question whether you want to go up to Birmingham. If England are even 120 for 7, do you want to come up with England 35 for 7? The game could be over by lunch. It's a bit of a schlep from London back again. It's just set a tone, I think, the Lord's Test, which has seeped into this test, and
I agree.
New Zealand have been remorseless. They've not been attacked back, I think. As Henry is in, that's clipped away nicely by Stone out to deep square leg for another run. 103 for 7. The lead 18. Stone with that moves to 9. Wood back on strike on 21. And people always get a bit
chippy,
a bit angry, don't they, when England's cricket team loses.
Well, you expect
yes.
on a nice couple of sunny days to be here on the 4th day, perhaps for a little bit longer than a session.
You do really. Henry's in, and that short ball goes through the keeper, and there's no run. 103 for 7. Stone 9, Wood 21, and it just has me thinking back to the winter when there are a lot of trenchant words spoken about those pitches and how they you know, took too much spin, and it ruined the game as a spectacle. Well, this is a pretty flat date that's not doing anything, and England are 102 for 7. So, you know, there comes a point when you wonder if the blame may lie elsewhere than the surfaces on which the players are playing. And New Zealand have played to their plans. Consistently, they've got players in every position. They've got 2 in every position. You might say England are missing players, but Blundell's come in for Watling, done a great job. Mitchell's come in for de Grandhomme. Young has come in for Kane Williamson.
Done a great
job. The world, got 80. Matt Henry's come in for Tim Southey. Taken 6 wickets in the match, knocked the top off England's order.
If anything, it's given them a few selection headaches.
It has rather, yes. I suppose England can take that solace. Patel in, that's whipped away nicely out through deep mid-wicket by Stone. He's going to get 4 runs for it. There was a bit of a hoik. It wasn't particularly gainly, but he got enough bat on it. It was full enough, given enough air, I think, to encourage the shot. Patel won't mind too much. 107 for 7. The lead now 22.
Must take the lead to at least 26.
26, yes. That's the key, isn't it?
Total in tests. Sure, New Zealand have some scarring from that match back in 1955, and they were skittled for 26 in their second innings, lost by an innings.
I think the most disappointing 10th wicket partnership was Australia's against South Africa, wasn't it? As Patel is in, and that's played away fine. Oh no, there's a mix-up. A throw comes in at the non-striker's end and misses, and Wood puts his hand up in the air and says sorry. There probably wasn't a run there. He came hurtling down. I mean, it was his call, in fairness, but Stone said no. He got back safely. Yes, Australia, weren't they 21 for 9 when they were bowled out for 47 by South Africa? It's a sharply non-turning dart is just about kept out there by
straight on that.
That was just taking a little look at it. Yep.
Oh yeah, completely done in the flight and everything there. Just
stabbed at it.
Yes, stabbed it down.
Got away with it. Patel into Stone again, and he's aiming a sort of flashy cut come drive, and the ball spits and is taken well by Blundell. It absolutely spat out of what I guess is rough. Let's have a little look at the replay there. Oof, that really has bounced.
Yeah.
Here is Patel. Stone cuts into the ground. He's exposing a lot of stumps here. It doesn't make for easy watching, and Bolt fields at point. 107 for 7 still. No run off that ball. Short extras in place. Slip forward short leg. Stone defends into the offside solidly. End of the over. Another one ticks by. 4th day becomes increasingly possible. 107 for 7. The lead now 22. So yes, just to finish on that scenario building point. I think if England are still batting at half past, it's going to be difficult for New Zealand, because they'd have to get the wicket immediately. Then we'd lose 10 minutes, and then they'd have to knock off those runs in 20 minutes, which would be 4 or 5 overs, wouldn't it?
And nice. They've had a pretty long day, isn't it? It's been hot.
Yes.
May as well just
come back, finish off the job tomorrow.
There you go.
They used to
nice brekkie.
Nice brekkie. Fill your boots.
Yeah.
Muesli, yogurt.
Perhaps have an extra slice of toast and.
Yeah. Why not? Treat yourself.
Yeah.
Trent Bolt is coming back into the attack. It's remorseless, this. One excellent fast medium bowler goes off, another comes on, and Bolt's going to bowl around the wicket to Wood. There are a notional 8 overs remaining in the day. They won't get bowled in 20 minutes. 4 or 5 overs might get bowled in 20 minutes. If England survive those 4 or 5, I think we're going into day 4. That's the equation. Bolt in, That's defended into the onside by Wood. A big appeal, which doesn't usually follow a ball striking a bat and going along the ground, but that I think was the impediment there to a successful appeal.
Yeah, it must have hit it outside the line as well.
Yeah, nothing
huge,
was going for that. Huge, yes. Well, I mean, bat, really.
Yeah.
Sort of a legitimate shot. We did see that, didn't we, recently? Someone appealing as Henry is in. And Wood drives beautifully, but straight along the ground to extra cover. Yes, we saw a referral where somebody just played a perfect forward defence. Can you remember who that was?
The India series, I can't remember the exact.
I think it might have been the India series, yes. It tickled us at the time. Now, the ball is being shown to the umpire. New Zealand don't like this ball. It's not been moving for them as much as other balls have done, and I think the umpire's just demonstrated that the ball goes through his little hoopy thing, and it plops on the floor in rather undignified fashion.
It's on against Aaron Finch in the ODI series at the end of last summer. It was just off the middle of the bat.
Yes. Henry into Wood, gets a thick edge down to the deep third boundary. It'll run all the way along the ground and slowly and eventually hit the boundary Toblerone sponge, taking Wood to 25. The lead is 26. The lowest team score in Test cricket history, scored by New Zealand against England in 1958-9. Bob Appleyard taking 4 for 7.
I think England had a first innings lead of 46, I think.
Is that all it was? One by an innings
and
20. Wow. And then Australia were 21 for 9 many, many years later against South Africa, until a last wicket partnership of, I think, 26. If you could check that for me. Bolt in, left arm, round the wicket, cut for 4. That's a super shot from Wood. He's found the gap between gully and point. 4 more. Nelson is up perilously, and England lead by 30. Wood has 29, Stone 13. Now I think it would be rather difficult if England were batting at half past for New Zealand to get those runs, wouldn't it? England really just playing for pride at this point. But they will have targets. That target will be, let's get through to stumps, which is 15 minutes away. One slip in, Bolt bowls. And Wood defends a ball that does keep a little low on him, pushes it out to short extra, straight along the ground.
Game between Australia and South Africa, extraordinary test match in Cape Town in November 2011. Began with Australia making 284 all out, of which Michael Clarke made 151 from 176 balls.
Bannerman-esque.
Which, other than the fact that his team subsequently lost, might be remembered as one of the great modern innings.
Yes. Bolt in. And Wood drives in the air, but not for long enough to reach Wagner on the full, who sprawls to his left to field. End of the over. Another one ticks by. 115 for 7. Wood has 29 after picking up 2 boundaries in that over. Stone has 13.
South Africa, in response to that 284 by Australia in this game in 2011 in Cape Town, reached 49 for 1 in the 14th over, then collapsed to 96 all out in 24.3 overs. At which point Australia, going out to bat with a lead of almost 200, were skittled for 47 in 18 overs, 21 for 9 in the 12th, before Peter Siddle and Nathan Lyon managed to get them past the lowest total in Test history.
I think it's the most unwelcome 10th wicket partnership. I mean, it's utterly futile. They lost the game anyway, and yeah.
At that point, 19 wickets had fallen in under 30 overs. South Africa set 236 to win, strolled it, winning by 8 wickets in just 50 overs, with rapid centuries by Graham Smith and Hashim Amla. It was a truly baffling game of cricket.
I remember working on that game, and none of us could make any sense of what was going on. Now, a new box of balls has been brought up, because although the ball wasn't deemed changeable or change-worthy a moment ago, it now is change-worthy. Hello, Alistair Cook. You've rejoined us.
Yeah, I'm a bit late, sorry.
Don't you worry about that. Now, we've probably got 13 minutes of play left today, if England are still batting. We tend, at moments like this, to offer some rather damning verdicts of England's day when a day has gone as badly as this. there are mitigating circumstances of New Zealand's bowlers. Shall we talk a little bit about them and how they have bowled, or are we do you just want to lay into the England batters?
Has Headingley 81 been spoken about yet?
Oh, no,
surely
you've ruined
every
it
time
now.
England are in this situation, surely everyone.
Yes, who's both them out of Stone and Wood though?
It's going to have to be Wood, won't it?
I think it is.
I just described his late cut he just played like Bradman-esque. I thought it went in a bit aerial for the Don, but
better than Bradman. He could never hit anything on the offside.
Cue the complaints that pile through from our friends in Australia. How dare you?
It was a wonderful shot, wasn't it?
I think for me the frustration bit now is actually how these two are batted. It's spun a little bit. There's been a bit of swing, and yes, New Zealand have bowled well, but it's not been unplayable by any stretch of the imagination. We knew the first 20 odd overs was going to be tough to bat. That's the Duke's ball in England.
Wagner has a replacement ball, and up on his toes goes Stone and works a short ball off his hip down to deep backward square, and they'll come through for a run. 116 for 7.
And you sit here now, I think kind of the word which I'm trying to use, it's been kind of coming to me about England's batting, is fragile, isn't it? Every time, even when a partnership builds or some good stuff happening for 2-3 hours, you fear at the moment with this batting lineup that disaster's only a few overs away, and I'm sure people felt that when I was playing, so I'm not saying it wasn't like that in my time.
Wagner in, and there's an attempted hook, comes off a bit of Wood's body and rolls down very fine between the slip and the keeper. Slips quite wide, and he's going to pick. Has he given that as runs or leg byes? It was leg byes, wasn't it?
I think it was leg byes.
Yes, it was.
Did he come with his shoulder?
Yes, I think it was. We're just seeing the replay now. I thought it was leg byes, and Andy confirms it's actually in his back because he's swung himself around so hard. Just showing his back to the ball. 120 for 7. That lead creeps up to 35. We're not at Headingley territory yet. Although that said, when the 7th wicket fell, England were 92 behind, weren't they?
Is that what it was? I knew you'd know the numbers.
Yeah, they're 135 for 7, I believe, with a deficit of 227 on first innings. Now, Wood's gone for a big one. It's high in the air. It should be taken by Blundell's underneath it, and he does take the catch. Wood's eyes lit up at a short ball. He's trying to smash that over deep mid-wicket. He got a thick top edge, and if the keeper had left it alone, it might have landed on his stumps. It might have been the most unusual played on you've ever seen. But England lose their 8th wicket, 120 for 8. Wood has to go for an enterprising 29. It's not he who will be deemed to blame for England's batting woes. He showed them how to do it, but their rush of blood and spectacular way to go.
Could he have got in the way of the fielder then, and just kind of moved and say, I thought he was going to hit it with his bat as it came down to say he was getting in the way. I thought he was going to bowl me.
Yes, actually, that's a very interesting one, isn't it?
I mean, clutching at straws
Probably
a little
not.
bit, aren't we? But played lovely for his 29, some great shots, but you could almost see every time he hit a 4, his body language there, his shoulders are slumped, head down. Every time he hit a 4, it was kind of like,
what's the point, sort of thing. Yes. Well, it now brings the possibility of the game ending today back into our focus. So the time is now 20 past 6. Yes.
A positive stat for England.
Yes.
Mark Wood, 2 quarter centuries in the match, batting at 9. It's only the 10th time in England number 9's had 2 quarter centuries.
Wow. Did Graham Swan manage it?
Swan managed it twice. Broad, Chris Wokes, Broad once, Ashley Giles, Gareth Batty, Derek Underwood, Harold Larwood in 1928 in Brisbane, and Maurice Tate.
Wow. Well, that is a thing, isn't it? That's a thing.
Is it?
That puts him in very fine and noble company.
Pretty sure there's only one way Stuart Broad's going to play here.
That's why I think we are still back on for a 3-day match.
But if he gets 2 or 3 away and the league gets to 50,
then we're back off.
It's how aggressive the New Zealand openers will want to be, won't they?
Yes. 2 slips, gully, and a leg gully as Wagner is in to the left-handed Broad, and Broad clips this away off his pads. They're going to run through for a single shot at the stumps. Had he hit, that would have been out, I think. Stone was not the quickest between the wickets, perhaps, and he dropped his bat as he ran through. There was only one stump to aim at, though, and fielder didn't manage to get the direct hit. Mitchell.
He wasn't really for 8. Wasn't backing up, and Stuart Broad, I think he got naught in the first innings, so he was on a pair, and I know he's batting at 10, but he doesn't want to get a pair, and as soon as he got batting, he was off. There was an easy single, actually. I just think Stone was very slow to set off. I think he'd have been out. Mitchell.
He would have been out. He would have been out, and he didn't even run the bat in. I'm afraid it was slightly under 11, see that? And that's probably being unfair on the under 11s. Placed the bat over the crease. It wasn't an edifying sight. Right, now, it's not ready yet, isn't Stone? It ticks over to 6:22. I'm thinking about all this for the fourth day crowd. That's why I'm sort of monitoring the timings.
Yeah, I've had a couple of texts from a friend who's has tickets for tomorrow.
Wagner is in, up on his toes goes Stone. Defence into the offside square of the wicket. There's no run.
He's not happy.
No, well, yes, I had one from a dear friend, Daisy Christodoulou, who was railing about the disappointment of not getting any cricket tomorrow.
I can understand if I was playing, but this really isn't my fault, Roger. You've had 12 years of it. Oh, Roger Parrish.
Would he do that before, when you were playing? Would he blame you? As Wagner is in to complete the over again, up in his toes goes Stone, plops it down on the offside. Right, 121 for 8, end of the over, 39 gone. 6 notional overs remaining. 7 minutes remaining in the day. So there'll be 2 overs, I think, that New Zealand can get in. If they bowl England out in those 2 overs, I think they might try and have a dart at 36 to win in what it would be 5 overs, probably break between innings.
Yes, it's 10 minutes. So I reckon
4 or 5 overs, they might have a dart.
I reckon if they get him in the... Yeah, you're right. I think in this over, they get the 2 wickets in this over. If they don't, there'll only be 20 minutes batting left.
Then it starts to get tricky, doesn't it?
And you almost put in kind of the openers in a bit of a...
Yeah, it's in a bit of an unfair bind, aren't you, really? You're saying, go and get the runs and do it now, which is unnatural. Bolt in, left arm over to the left-handed Broad, and Broad swings at a short ball. What a surprise, that thuds off his body, and Bolt just goes and collects the ball himself. Andy.
Neil Wagner now has 226 test wickets. He's overtaken Vernon Philander during the course of this innings, and he's now level with both Andrew Flintoff and Steve Harmison. 2 fine bowlers. Yes. Flintoff averaged 32 and Tess Harmison 31. Wagner averages 26. Just to highlight what a
underrated
fantastic cricketer he has been for New Zealand.
So underrated, isn't he, I think? Bolt into Broad. Broad's bowled! Exposed all 3 stumps. And, well, he just wafted at a full straight ball that didn't do a great deal. Backed away to leg, aimed an indeterminate drive through the offside, and he's been gassoled. 121 for 9, England on the brink.
I think he's expecting another short ball. His feet were slightly leg side-ish.
His feet were in Birmingham city centre, is where his feet were.
Walk off and say I was opening off the offside, coach. To the offside boundary, but no.
Oh, yes.
I think he was expecting a short one. I wonder how James will play.
Right, well, he's going to get a rousing reception from the whole crowd, as he did in the first innings. Bolt's picked up, can you believe it, his first wicket of the innings. England are 121 for 9, but it's not Bolt who's done the damage. It's been Henry, Patel, Wagner.
Stuart Broad's last 60 tests with the bat, averaging 11.7. 31 runs in his last 8 innings, average 7. Mentioned earlier on, his first 25 home tests, he averaged 38. The bat, it's been one of the most striking declines.
Higher than Wally Hammond.
Wally Hammond, Ken Barrington, Tom Graveney.
Yes.
Alan Lamb, Mike Gatting, Graham Gooch.
Yes.
All averaged lower in their first 25 home tests with the bat.
Greats of the game they were. So, Jimmy Anderson has walked out. He's walked out quite slowly. I wonder, he might actually want a 4th day by the look of it. Because there are 4 balls left in this over. He's got to take guard yet. So
I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're on the... It's marvellous, isn't it, with cricket, these unusual oddities. 2 slips, gully and a leg gully. Point, extra cover, mid-on, quite short. And there's a deep forward square leg.
It's quite a lot of runs, isn't it? 36 in 25 minutes.
Yes. In comes Bolt into Anderson, who leaves this ball. He's thought about fencing at it, but doesn't in the end. Goes through to the keeper. Another minute ticks by. 3 more minutes until 6:30. fancy they will get another over in, and that could be the deciding factor. That looked gun barrel straight to me. That ball from Bolt. It's into Anderson. Anderson leaves this alone, authentically leaves this alone, and now Bolt's running back to his mark. He wants to get another over in. It's almost like they've got an intent. They'd quite like to win this and get a couple of days off.
And maybe have a couple of beers tonight as well.
Yes. Well, the World Test Championship final begins on Friday.
Yeah.
So yes, another 2 days would be lovely. Bolt in, played at and missed by Anderson through to the keeper Blundell.
And actually, for New Zealand, in terms of the workload for Bolt, I think they might have been quite scared in terms of coming back. Hasn't played much red ball cricket for a long time. Big spike in workload. Actually, I don't know how many overs he bowled in the first innings. But,
how many did he bowl in the first innings?
I'm going to say 20 odd.
29, 4 for 85.
29.
There's a few more than I thought actually. But
so this will take him up to 39 when he finishes this over. Anderson leaves it alone, shoulders, arms through to the keeper, end of the over. We're going to get at least one more in today. The question on everybody's lips is, are we going to get a load more or not?
Another fine team performance by New Zealand. The wickets and runs, but around 3 players making 80 for the bowlers, 5 wickets in the match for Bolt, 6 for Henry, 4 for Wagner, 4 for Patel.
Thank you. Spread around, isn't it?
They are an impressive unit, aren't they?
I think they're a tremendous side, aren't they? I was talking about this earlier with Bill Tufton. They've got replacements for every position, which is a marvellous thing to have.
Yeah, you'd always have, I suppose when I played against them, you always thought they had a really good first 11, 12, and then not much in, but this has been totally different. I can't remember the last time England at home were outplayed as like over the 7 or 8 games. We lost some series, but almost lost, say, the odd session badly, with Sri Lanka or whatever we did when we lost games, but to be consistently outplayed at home.
Wagner into Stone, who gets a thick inside edge to a short ball, and it rolls out to the offside. Nichols tidies up.
I was trying to think when South Africa became #1 side in the world in 2012. I think
wasn't really being completely outplayed. There was
I think they did beat us.
Yeah,
that's probably the last time, I think.
But that Oval Test match, which looks terrible on paper, but sort of, went to the 5th day, didn't it?
We got 450, didn't we? And then they got 800.
Yes,
for 3
something like that. Yeah, Hashim Amla was quite the knock. Comes Wagner wide and short through to the keeper.
Just helped himself to 300, didn't he?
Yes, 311.
And then Callis just, as if you do 180, as if just it was as easy as walking out the shower and having your Weetabix.
Yeah, I feel sorry. I feel for Jacques Callis. He doesn't get quite the plaudits he might get. Yes,
I think he does. He's
well, people don't talk about him enthusiastically, is what I mean. They don't say, "Oh, it's a beautiful innings."
He'd been most people's World 11, wouldn't he, if you had to pick one over the last.
Yeah, Wagner in, and that's a nice drive by Stone. He's going to get a run for it because mid-on set quite deep. And the lead will advance to 37, 122 for 9. They will, though, bring Anderson on to strike against Wagner, who's getting shape back in, isn't he? I mean, consistently.
That's the thing I'm finding really hard in this game, is to work out how New Zealand have consistently swung the ball a lot more. And the stats, they're saying they bowled fuller, but England didn't get the ball to swing at all. Now, so therefore you have to drag your lengths back. Now, was it because the ball wasn't swinging they dragged the lengths back, or was it they bowled too short so it wouldn't swing?
Very good question. Wagner in, and that's just flirted at by Jimmy Anderson, but in the end he doesn't get edge near it, and that ball's just swung again. We've got the perfect view from behind of just how this ball's curving past the left-hander's outside edge.
And the only I'd have to say, it feels like the ball. I don't want to be back the England bowlers. Everyone thinks I would, but as soon as it did swing, with Stuart Broad was all over Ross Taylor, they did bowl full, and they did encourage the drive. They did beat the outside edge, and actually credit to New Zealand.
Wagner in, played and missed again by Anderson through to Blundell.
They survived that period. It was incredibly tough. Yes, it was a bit. They played and missed. You need a little bit of luck. There's a couple of balls that Stuart Broad bowled to Ross Taylor, who, Howard didn't bowl him. You were going, that's incredible. But they got through it, and you feel if New Zealand had that against England's batting, that they would have lost 3 or 4 wickets in that little session. And actually, New Zealand found a way just to get through it.
They gutsed it out, didn't they? I mean, they got a little bit of luck in there as well. You might need that, mightn't you, as Wagner is in. What might be the last ball of the day. Ball goes through to the keeper, Blundell. Right, now we're going to find out. Are we having an extra half hour or are we not? The umpires have said no. The bails have come off. That is the end of the third day of this second test match between England and New Zealand. England are 122 for 9 at the end of it. It's been a day of 16 wickets falling. England will lose this match. That is, I'm going to tell you, it's absolutely certain. But it won't happen until tomorrow now. So if you've got tickets for tomorrow and you're nearby and you want to pop in and have a look, then why not? The forecast is beautiful.
If you haven't got tickets, Roger's got 2 he doesn't want.
Right, Roger, exactly. Call Roger. Anderson and Stone are now walking off the pitch, and they know the situation. It has been, frankly, a dreadful half day for England. New Zealand began it splendidly, then England fought back, and then, I'm afraid, in the evening they have been outplayed and outwitted and outthought by a fine New Zealand bowling attack. I'm going to take my leave. Some thoughts from Alistair Cook, and then Jonathan Agnew is going to take you through a review of the day.
As New Zealand are walking away to the other end of the ground, high-fiving each other, I've been seriously impressed the way they've gone about their business in these 3 days. Actually, in the 4 days at Lord's, they've outplayed England pretty much. Kind of always been on top of the game. They've been outplayed them in pretty much all key sessions, and today I felt that was a chance on this wicket for England to bat big, to put New Zealand under pressure in the fourth innings. Any lead hard on the fourth innings to get, but they just weren't allowed. From ball 2, Rory Burns nicking off, caught Latham. A good catch by Latham. Burns, and since there, England just couldn't get going in their second innings, and it doesn't make good reading.